the reflection of the Earth's continents are on the moon, how can that occur if the moon's not a physical object? Show
Just
me
a
an
light,
example.
Chris. Just a light.
No, I heard you say that. I heard you say that
There's
looming can
not-
only happen above water. I heard you say that.
But you also heard me say what I just said. Show me an example where a reflection happens of something onto something that is not physical. Give me an example
You
of
didn't
that
say
in real life.
the moon is not physical. It just means that you can't land on it.
I'm saying the thing that is being reflected onto also has to be physical.
No. Let's explain. So you've got like a window, like a glass, piece of glass. Let me explain it to you, Chris. Then, so you've got like a.
I wasn't finished talking before. So John Bernard said that the Earth's continents are being reflected onto the moon. I'm not rejecting that idea, okay? All I am saying is that the moon has to be a physical object to be reflected onto, for something to be reflected onto it. That is what I'm saying.
Can I say something? Can I respond to that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Prove me wrong that the moon is not a physical object.
Let me use an example. I'm not saying.
No.
Oh, so you don't want a response then? So you don't want a response. You're not even going to let me respond.
Yeah, be quiet, Chris. Let him respond.
Mail. Let's have the response.
Response to that exact question, not moving the goalpost. Respond to that exact question.
So you want me to respond to it in the exact way that you want me to respond to it?
I want you to respond to the question.
Right.
Don't move the goalpost.
Chris, let him respond.
How do you know that I'm moving the goalpost or not? I haven't even said anything yet.
Okay, so do it.
I haven't said anything yet. How do you know that I'm moving the goalpost? God damn it. So he wanted to know what an example of a reflection is, where it may not necessarily be happening on something physical. Have you ever seen an inferior mirage where something is being reflected below another object? So what is that? What is that inferior? Let me finish. No, shut up. Let me finish. Can you let me finish? What is the inferior mirage being cast upon?
Other object.
What other object?
One object to another object.
Yeah, but what is it being cast on? What object is the inferior mirage being cast upon?
Water is
dense air.
No, it isn't.
A layer of dense air.
Yep, it's onto the air.
It's a visible layer of air that looks like a mirror.
Because of the oblique angle.
Right. I'm not going to disagree with that, but that goes back to what the definition of physical is. You can't say that
It's physical.
Yeah, air is physical. You can't say that air is not physical. I never said that the moon is not physical, so that was never my claim.
So now what, Chris?
So while we got a little lull in the conversation, Kimo, that video that I posted with the temperature measurement, now we're a believer in temperature and pressure are not linked.
We've moved on. We've moved on. We're talking about the
I know we moved on, but can we just answer that question?
There's a reflection. The reflection on the moon is the reflection of the Earth, guys. Did you know that?
I don't know what the point of Lael's thing was, but
I understand what Lael's point is. I've heard flat earthers say that the moon is non-physical, and his point is that you can't cast a reflection on something that is non-physical.
That's why I keep telling people, don't start presupposing what the sky does. You're going to end up like a glober if you start doing it.
Right.
Chris thought he had us then with that one. I mean, Chris, we don't know what the moon is, do we? Nobody does. That's the point.
Seriously, you start presupposing how the sky works, you're going to end up just like the globers.
Well, there's a number of people claim they've been to the moon and come back.
You can speculate.
I mean, to us, Chris, all the lights in the sky are just that. They're just lights in the sky. Now, we don't know if you can stand on it or if you wouldn't stand on it. How would you even know? Nobody knows this, Chris. That's the point.
Well, they do, because we sent probes and rockets up into space to collect data, and they've brought stuff back with them as well on occasion.
Sorry,
So it's kind of weird.
But what's your evidence then of what's your evidence of having gas pressure next to a vacuum?
Well, that's not the claim that we're arguing about at the moment, is it?
Yeah, but to get to the moon, you've got to leave the atmosphere.
I haven't finished my sentence. You've got a hot mic. You may want to mute yourself for a second.
Yeah, but you're changing the subject here. You're saying that we have been to the moon. We're talking about what the moon is, about the reflection. You're saying, well, we've been to the moon. You're derailing. Prove we've been to the moon, and we can get back to the original conversation.
Let me finish my point. Thank you. Try and show some manners, sir. So, the point I'm making is the fact that there are many claims that people have gone to the moon and come back. They're well documented. We've got evidence, independent evidence supporting it. Gem Panda, I believe, made some video looking at all of that. So I'll reference Gem Panda's video as my citation and evidence because he collects an awful lot of sources in one place.
Okay, so Chris, look, the idea is how it works is you've got the dome and then you've got like a torch. Something, again, this is just speculation. We don't know. Nobody knows. No one's been to the moon. So it's like there's a torch or a light behind the dome, and it's like a spotlight on the dome, which makes a reflection of the Earth, and then it just moves around the dome. You know, this is just pure speculation, because how are we ever going to get high enough to know the actual truth?
Well, to be honest, your pure speculation started when you claimed that nobody had been to the moon. That's pure speculation on your part, because we seem to have claims to the contrary.
Okay, if you say so, fine, whatever.
No, I mean, if you say so, you don't think they're claims?
Fine, whatever. You can get out of this atmosphere into a vacuum if you say so. Fine.
Well, those are claims, aren't they?
How can I argue with that? Fine, if you believe that you can have a vacuum without the container next to the gas pressure, fine.
We don't have
fine.
a
If that's your
vacuum
belief,
next to a gas pressure.
That's your religious
Stop lying
belief.
about that.
Fine.
Well,
What can anyone do about that?
We have lower pressure. We have. Wait 1 second. I just want to finish this point. We don't have vacuum next to gas pressure. What we have is we have lower pressure next to lower pressure next to lower pressure.
Okay, whatever you believe. What we do see,
what we do know,
this is not a belief. Yeah. We do see the object in the sky like a light, and we all have an assumption about what it should or shouldn't be. That is the fact, right?
Well, it reflects light and radio waves too. We know that.
There you go. We just nobody knows. You've got your opinion. We've got our opinion. But all Ranty's done is brought something new.
See, it becomes opinion
believe, right?
It's observed. If we have observed radar waves coming back from the moon, then it is not an opinion. That is an observation.
You're right. If I observe radar, if me and you observe radars coming back, yes, you're right. We cannot deny this fact. You're right. If me and you both observe this, then yes, we cannot deny this fact. But the problem is, none of us have. Neither of us two have seen radar go to the moon.
Wait, Kimo, you're stepping on. You haven't.
Yeah, you haven't. And again, the same way...
I haven't, you haven't, none of us have.
On Earth that you haven't been to, Kimo. And what you're now saying is there is as much evidence for radio waves bouncing off the moon as there are for other countries that you haven't visited just because you personally have not been there. So again, you're creating the genetic fallacy like you always like to do when you get trapped into a corner. And say, because we haven't done it, it's now a belief. No, we're quoting the body of evidence. So if you've got a problem with we've got a problem with any of those particular findings, bring them up and show us how you're discrediting.
It's not possible to have gas pressure next to a vacuum.
We don't have gas pressure next to a vacuum. We have low pressure next to low pressure. Carry on.
Yeah, you cannot have low pressure next to high pressure. It doesn't work like that.
Well, we have to.
I proved that today. I proved that today, Kimo.
No, you didn't control your variables to make it a
What variable didn't
experiment.
I control? I controlled temperature and I controlled pressure. Those are the things you wanted to know.
How did you control the temperature?
Right,
I did.
To prove that?
Didn't you see the temperature? Did you look at the video?
How did you? I'm asking a question. How did you control it?
I measured it.
Didn't look at the video as the answer.
You measured the temperature. I'm asking you, how did you control it, not measure it?
I measured it. I verified that it was uniform.
I didn't ask you if you measured it. I asked you, how did you control the temperature?
Control is.
Hemo, I've measured it.
I didn't ask you about a measurement work. I didn't ask you about a measurement. I asked you how you were able to manipulate and control the variable of the temperature.
I didn't need to.
Okay, so that's fine then. So that's not science.
In fact,
That's
what I did is I
pseudoscience.
kept the temperature.
Okay, fine. I'm not going to argue.
Stop! I kept the temperature the same.
Yeah.
And I varied my elevation and pressure drop. I have low pressure next to high pressure.
Again, no, that's pseudoscience. There's nothing to argue with. That's your belief, right?
That's not belief. Please tell me how it's a belief.
Right. Did you manipulate and control the temperature?
I didn't need to.
Okay, again, so there you go. There's nothing. What are we I have to take your word. I
My
believe
variable was elevation.
Okay, so fine. So in that case, fine, good. You did it. That's fine. I can't repeat it. No one can repeat it.
Yes, you
That's
can.
fine.
Why not? Was that a hard test?
Oh, we can repeat what you said. Yeah, I did it. It's done.
I did.
Chemo.
I did the same type of test before. I tested how much pressure was it at my altitude in 2 separate temperature-controlled rooms. One was -10, and one was room temperature at 80 degrees. And guess what? The air pressure was exactly the same.
In the room?
14.7 psi.
No, we're talking about outside. Why do you keep going into a room when there's a container? Atmospheric pressure, not
you're just
room
trying to
pressure.
pigeonhole us into being able to vary the atmospheric temperature. Well, I can do that also. I can put a heater on.
So we've derailed the conversation once again, but we're talking about the moon and the reflection, and somehow we're onto Moychick's non-experiment.
Okay, you just roll over the top of me. Go on. So yeah, the point was here is it doesn't matter what we tell Chemo because he's just admitted unless he sees it himself, for him it's not real. So unless he does it himself, it's not real. So any experiment, any evidence that we present him is worthless to Chemo because he actually does it.
Can I respond to that? I didn't mean to cut you off, Dross, but I just want to respond to that. So because
we're talking about Chemo doing experiments.
I am talking about Chemo doing experiments.
Yeah. I'm giving way to Space Probe. Please let him talk.
Right, thanks, Dross. I am talking about an experiment as well. So you said that the air density doesn't vary with temperature, and that's because most buildings are not built airtight. So air pressure can equalize inside the building. So if you're using a thermostat or whatever it is in the building to measure air pressure, a barometer, my bad. If you're using that, you're not going to notice any difference because you're not in an airtight container. So it's an open system. It's going to be exactly the same as it is on the outside.
Are you telling me the freezer I was in with the door closed is not a temperature-controlled system?
Can you breathe inside that freezer?
Of course I can.
For a while.
Then it's not airtight. Then it's not airtight. If you can breathe inside it, it's not airtight.
I can if I close the door. If it wasn't airtight, the temperature would rise.
Yeah, you can. You can breathe with the door shut.
That's what I'm saying.
For a while.
If the door
you can breathe. You can breathe in a freezer with the door shut.
For a
what
while.
are you talking about?
Well, no, guys, I've got a very simple question here. One second. Very simple question. 1 second, very quickly. Space Probe. In that case, then, we wouldn't be able to go scuba diving because all we have is a closed container that's not open.
Wait.
Yeah, but you have an oxygen tank when you go scuba diving. You don't have
oxygen, and you have oxygen in the freezer when the door's closed. Great, we can move on.
There's no oxygen tank inside the freezer.
Okay, moving on.
No, there's Chemo in the freezer.
He is not answering my question.
Why is there oxygen in the freezer? Because it's an open system.
Will you let me ask my question again, please? If the freezer is not airtight, the temperature would rise and the stuff in the freezer would melt and be frozen, and we would lose all unfrozen, and we would lose all that product. It is too airtight, and when I close the door, it becomes airtight, and it's the same pressure as if I were staying outside at the same altitude, same pressure.
Depending on the
It's
type
not
of freezer and
airtight.
how big it is, you
It
won't
is
be able
too
to keep
airtight.
it long.
The air would get out, warmer air would get in, and the food would heat up, and ice cream would melt.
It's not true, man.
The food would warm up and go bad.
It's relatively airtight. You could probably suffocate in that freezer, but it's not really airtight. It actually does equalize the outside ambient air pressure.
And out.
Thanks, Moyak.
But it
But that
stays
is
at,
irrelevant to the
stays at
conversation.
-10 all the time.
Chemo is
How is it irrelevant?
well, because chemo is saying that temperature changes with pressure in the atmosphere, and it does not, or it relatively does not.
Yeah, it does.
And that's what mine was an outdoor test. I did it outdoors, measured temperature at between 5 and 0 feet from my deck.
You guys, the
And
temperature
I saw
pressure
a
thing
pressure
is
temperature
ridiculous
change,
because you're not measuring the whole
pressure
Earth.
change. Well, it doesn't matter. We're talking about whether pressure, high pressure can sit on top of low pressure, which is chemos are.
Well, what type of barometer?
Right.
What type of barometer are you using? Are you using a mercury barometer?
So getting back
Anaerobic
on
or
track.
it's like an anaerobic, I think.
Chemo.
Yes,
Why-
chemo.
What
Question.
You know, the gradient thing is like
It's a no-brainer.
is like evident, right? So I like to challenge them on, hey, prove you've went so high. I don't know why you want to argue can they go or not when it's like a weak ass argument. Just argue if they've been there or not. Like, just go, I don't think you've been 200 miles past Earth because I don't know. Fuck, keep your reasons to yourself because they're weak, okay? But if you don't think they've been there, just say that you don't think they've been there.
Last night I witnessed something, and I'm going to witness it again tonight. We're going to take some measurements on it across the nation to show a 17,000 mile an hour object moving through the sky. And I saw it yesterday. It's kind of cool. I even took a measurement.
So I
That's
have a
pretty dope.
question
We
for
see them a lot,
chemo.
right? We see them a lot.
I have a question for chemo. Is chemo still there?
I am still here.
Yes, chemo. Would you like to do a simple experiment right now to address the concept of a high pressure next to a low pressure?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why y'all ignoring when he responded to you though, Chemo, like about 10 minutes ago? He was like, it's low pressure next to low pressure.
Yeah.
And then you kind of came back with, oh, well, high pressure and low. It's kind of like you ignored that he said low to low.
Yeah, because again, that's him being silly.
Okay.
It's me.
Who's being silly?
Well, I mean, you do always have a higher, you have, you know, one's always higher than the other, but it's like to think of them as a relatively high pressure, right, is somewhat unfair, I think, somewhat disingenuous, because it is a gradient, you know?
No, it's not. Prove it's a gradient.
I just did.
So don't start spouting this nonsense. It is
I
a
just
gradient
did,
if you
Chemo.
cannot prove that there
Okay,
is a
chemo.
gradient.
Let's do this experiment.
All
and
sides
you can
accepted on
actually
that. I thought the
see
air got
if we
thinner
can
up
tell.
there.
In order
all
for
that.
it to be an experiment, first, you would have to follow the scientific method. That would mean you would need to observe pressure in nature. Then you would have to predict your cause to this pressure. Then you would have to manipulate your independent variable that causes the pressure. Okay?
I think they did when they created barometers.
So this is not science, and this is why, you know, you go around in circles with your religious belief here. Manipulate your independent variable, show us the cause to the effect, and then we can move forward with science, not pseudoscience.
So are you ready?
I did all that, chemo.
Yeah, I got some.
Are you ready to do this, chemo? Since chemo's observation would actually definitively make it for him valid.
Alright, let's go through this again. We do not observe pressure in nature. Nobody feels it. Nobody sees it. Someone just said there is pressure.
Chemo, bullshit. You done been under some water. You done had your ears popped.
No, I don't mean water pressure. Are you talking about water pressure then?
Okay, air
pressure
pressure
is
then.
not-
Okay, air pressure. You've went up in a plane. You've seen your ears pop. You went back down. You went up a mountain, down a mountain. I've driven up a mountain, down a mountain, had my ears pop.
Okay.
Come on, man. We gotta have certain agreements, man.
So you've got a high temperature inside your body, high pressure inside your body, high temperature. You've got low temperature outside. What do you think is going to happen?
Car.
Okay, maybe it's temp you're saying, but it's still a pressure.
I just
Maybe
proved
the
that
temp is-
wrong.
What do you think is going to happen, Don?
I just proved the temperature.
If you've got a high temperature inside your body, you're hot. You've got low temperature outside. What do you think is going to try and happen? It's going to try and equalize, right?
Are you going to ignore what I said? The temperature is the same. I did do this.
Yeah, Moy, the reason why that is because when you get into a conversation with you quit and say, I've had enough, it's over, and then you ruin a conversation because you cannot move forward with your point.
Wait.
So, Chemo, are you ready?
2 days ago, get a
let's go ahead and do
agreement on the temperature pressure thing?
So, Don, the idea
ready,
is that in order for it to be science, you would need an observed phenomenon in the first place, which we don't have. Right, we're guessing.
Are you ready to actually make that happen, Chemo?
Chemo, it's quite easy. Put a balloon over a bottle, toss it in your car, drive up the mountain. All of a sudden, the balloon will inflate. Why?
Because you've got high temperature inside the car and low
Make
temperature
sure the temperature
outside.
in your car is the same temperature.
Okay, because I knew you were going to say that. I'll tie the bottle to the outside of the car. Drive up the mountain, balloon will inflate. Okay, why is that?
Here's a look there. Let's see that happen.
So you ready to do an experiment, Chemo?
What? Let's see what he's talking about. He said, well, what about that? Well, what about that? Has that ever happened?
I think we'd rather have Chemo do something for a change.
So that's the
Real
idea
simple
here,
experiment,
Don, is
Chemo.
that
A real
science, in
simple
order for it to
experiment
follow the
you
science...
can do right now. Are you ready?
Ready for what, exactly?
To do this simple experiment.
What's the observed phenomena, cowbells?
You're going to actually do it.
I'm asking you what the observed phenomenon is.
Pressure changes, we think.
So that we don't have
Are you ready to do it or not?
To do what, cowbells?
To do this experiment.
Experiment. Okay, what's our observed phenomenon?
Pressure changes.
You are not unintelligent, Chemo. You know that you really can't know that stuff because of blinds necessary to actually eliminate unintentional bias.
How can I do an experiment without knowing the natural observed phenomenon?
It does not have to be natural. Don't you dare disrespect science like that. If it exists, if it was made by man, it can be used to do science.
Well, if man caused it, then we know man is the effect.
I don't care if you want to call it synthetic or a fucking jack in the box.
No, man is the cause of the effect.
Oh my
No,
god.
That's
the
true
cause
there,
of the
Kamo.
effect
You got
is
that
what
right.
We're not looking for. We are looking for what the effect is in the experiment.
Look, if we don't want to turn this into a circus, and we're trying to be men of science, then you have to have your independent variable to manipulate. Otherwise, you're just giving me a guess of what you think is the cause to the effect.
That's correct, Kamo. You're 100% correct.
So, for example, atmospheric pressure...
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sick of listening to this, Chemo.
Are you ready to do the experiment or not?
Tell us the experiment.
Are you ready to participate in the experiment?
All right, because we'll allow the begging of your question. What's the experiment?
It's really simple. You take your hand, you hold it out in front of your face, then you take your other hand and you hold it someplace else nearby, and you simply blow on the hand in front of your face. What do you observe?
I'm listening. What's the conclusion?
Go ahead and do it, and you give your observation.
Okay, what's the conclusion?
That's going to be necessary
How does
for you to do the observation.
The conclusion is the observation. The conclusion is the observation.
Go ahead and do it, Chemo.
We haven't come to a conclusion yet, Chemo. We're still in experimental phase.
Well, he hasn't given me the No, we're not. He hasn't given me any hypothesis. He hasn't given me any prediction. He hasn't given me any observed phenomenon.
And you
we're
know
gonna have an
that
observation.
you cannot actually have those because that will introduce an unaccounted for bias.
Yeah,
right now we're in the observation phase. When you blow on your hand, something happens. What happens?
Do you understand the
I need
mechanics
to
of what
breathe
you're supposed to do?
and recollect, because I think you're just winding. You're just messing around here. This is not science, right?
Chemo, it is. We're doing an observation.
You're trying to cause aggravation where it's not necessary. I think.
They could have Chemo. They could have Chemo. They
air pushing on my hands. All right.
Hold on, Don. Chemo. They could have turned this into a natural observed phenomenon. I don't know why they did.
I don't know why they haven't.
Wow.
Yeah.
This could have been.
Okay, so we have a natural.
It's Moya keeps messing this messing up for them with his stories.
You could have said you hold your hand out and you feel wind on your hand.
Why
Okay.
are you playing these stupid
Like, I
games?
don't
Don't have to do this
Chemo?
category error thing of this natural thing.
Look,
It's
as
just a
if
categorization
he's an
term.
actual scientist. It's fucking pathetic watching him play around it like this.
So
I don't understand why he's doing it.
We've got
So
our
have you done
natural
it, Chemo?
phenomena.
Did you
We've got our
understand the
natural-
instructions?
We've got our natural phenomena. We feel wind on our hand. What's the hypothesis?
Kimo, why do you do this? And you as well, Jeremy, as if you're actual scientist.
What's the hypothesis?
I know, it does seem like that, Chris. I get it. I mean, we've got to step down a little bit because it seems
It's
like...
fucking retarded is what it
But
is.
do you know, the difference between us as well is that you can see that we're not messing around. We believe this. We know this to be true. Whereas you guys are like, well, somebody somewhere may have done something somehow and, you know, we have to
did you
trust
do the
that
experiment,
person.
Chemo?
You seem to be avoiding the experiment. Why?
Yeah. Because, again,
You don't have an
Jeremy,
experiment.
Jeremy's trying to help
didn't
you
even-
out.
Shut up, Jeremy.
No.
You didn't even come with a hypothesis. We got our natural
Yeah,
observed
now
phenomena.
we're in the
What's the
observation.
Why are you talking over me? What's
Exactly.
the hypothesis?
Because you're wrong. It's not a
What do you mean
hypothesis.
I'm wrong. We got our
Because
natural
right
observed
now we're
phenomena.
We're in the
We
process.
got our
of
natural observed
observation.
phenomena. What's the hypothesis? Go.
Okay, we've got that now. Now we got to go.
We're
from there.
waiting
We
on
gotta start-
Chemo to actually give his
We
observation.
felt wind on our
Right,
hand. We felt wind
cowbells.
on our hand.
I reluctantly, went along with your pseudoscience understanding. Now, I've asked you for the conclusion. Okay.
So
What's
funny.
your observation?
The fact that they couldn't
We
turn
got wind
that
on our
thing-
hand. I wonder what the cause is.
I know. This is what I'm saying. He's making me
Hang
step
on.
into this
Hang
pseudo
on.
world. I'm like, okay, can only
Hang
go
on.
as far as we can.
Hang on. We've got wind on our hand. What's the cause of that? Would it be you blowing on your hand? It lets you sign for this. Bunch of
I
fucking
mean,
idiots.
the fact they couldn't turn that into a natural observed phenomena alone
don't know
is
yet.
scary.
We don't know yet. We're in the process of.
Moya,
we
will you
don't
not
know
let
yet.
cowbells
You
make
haven't
it?
really
Moya.
Jerry, all you're doing is interrupting the conversation.
No, it's you, Moya, interrupting cowbells. He wants to make a point about science, and you're all over it.
You and you're not in.
He's asking the flat earthers. That's me, Jeremy, Space Poe. Who
And
else is
Jeremy's
here?
interrupting.
And the other flat earthers that are in here. Oh, we've got Don as well. Don's involved. He's on the fence, right?
Fence.
We've got we've got
yeah, but
Dawn
if I had to
also.
bet, I bet it's a goal.
Almost off the
I'd bet
fence.
80-20 at least, maybe 90-10. I might lay you 5-1.
So Moya, stop derailing what this conversation with science here.
Tell Jeremy to stop talking. He's interrupting too.
What are you talking, dude? I just gave you a natural. Dude, I just gave you a natural observed phenomenon, whereas you had blowing on your hand before.
You're talking to cowbells.
Natural observed phenomena. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, so what we're talking about, Chris, is cowbell said, let's do an experiment. So, as I said, reluctantly, I stepped into the world of pseudoscience, but now we're looking for the conclusion, and he won't tell us.
Of
It's
what?
dependent upon your observation. So what is it?
We observed wind blowing on our hand. What's the
Fucking
hypothesis?
hell, man.
Jeremy.
Go ahead,
I
Jeremy.
appreciate your input, Jeremy, and yes, that's useful as an additional data point to chemos, but we need chemos.
But again, I'm going to find it very difficult. I'm going to find it very difficult to fully complete. No, it's fine. I'm just going to find it very difficult to fully complete his experiment because, again, it's in the pseudo-scientific realm. I don't know what to do. Where do you go next on your position?
Okay,
they have it.
I apologize.
Hold on.
Apparently the instructions weren't clear. You hold one hand out in front of your face, and you hold your other hand off nearby. And then you blow on the hand in front of your face. What are your observations?
Chemo, they have a natural
Wait. You need to set up.
Hold on a second. Chemo, they have a natural observed phenomena. It's time for we feel wind on our hand. Wind blows on your hand. It's time for step 2.
Oh my god, that's so retarded.
Hypothesis. Let's go. Give us the hypothesis.
No, we're still waiting for Chemo to make an observation.
Wait, hang on. I just want to say one thing before I go. If Lael is still here, I have an answer for his refrigerator freezer question. I just posted a link in the chat about whether atmospheric pressure is the same as what we would expect the pressure to be inside a freezer. You can take a look at that whenever you want to, but it just proves my point that the seals around the door are not perfect, so it's not a perfectly airtight container. Carry on.
Chris, you want to respond to that? You've been debunked, and Moyak's been debunked.
No, I didn't. I
With a
never said that it was.
Swift article here that
said it was-
explains the pressure inside a closed refrigerator is the same as atmospheric pressure.
misrepresent.
How on
I
earth
say
can
that.
it be the same when the well, I won't get into that right now, but
Pressure is the same.
no, it should be, yeah, if it's not closed.
Yeah, but it's the same because the door doesn't have airtight. It's not an airtight container, and that was my point.
Oh yeah, that
You're
makes
right.
sense.
You're right.
That makes sense.
You're going to understand that Chemo's argument right now is that temperature and pressure are synonymous in the atmosphere. That refrigerator will have the same inside pressure and outside pressure because they equalize, but the temperature is clearly lower inside that refrigerator. So if you have the same pressure in and out and lower pressure, his argument is debunked. Pressure and temperature
You guys
are not linked that way.
You guys had me all excited. I thought we were about to do some real science.
Don't do it. You refuse.
Well, Jeremy, you actually did do real science, but we're still waiting on chemo.
Again, I fall short in this understanding of pseudos. I don't know what to do next. Where do you go from here in this pseudo-scientific realm?
We're waiting on your
Chemo's actually right, by
observation.
the way. Temperature does affect air density, so if you're changing air density, then you are, in fact, changing pressure. So Chemo's right.
No, he's wrong because that refrigerator has the same pressure in and out. And
But we already went over the reasons why the pressure is the same in the freezer.
pressure is the same at a different temperature, right?
Chemo. They have a natural observed phenomena. We feel wind on our hand. We hold our hand out. A gust of wind comes by. We feel wind on our hand.
Mm-hmm.
What
Right,
is
we
this
do.
fucking primary school?
We got a natural observed phenomenon.
Well, not
time
according
for-
to what chemo was saying earlier.
Yeah, that's
because
right,
he
Jeremy.
needs to
So in
observe it.
nature, we didn't cause that
So
effect.
chemo,
Yeah?
go ahead and do this. We're waiting on your observation, chemo.
I don't think we're going to be able to
Listen.
find out the cause of the wind and manipulate it. So I think it's the sun that
So
causes.
you're refusing to actually do the experiment.
Now, my hypothesis is I predict the sun causes the temperature change, which causes the density change, which causes that gust of wind, but I can't manipulate the sun to prove my predicted cause.
There's a sun in his mouth? There's a sun in your mouth?
But then again,
Nice attempt to derail. Nice attempt to derail, chemo.
But we do have
But
wind at
you're the
night,
experiment.
so it could be again. My predicted causes cannot be tested.
We don't have a cause yet. We don't even have an observation.
We have an effect. We feel the wind.
Yielded.
We have an effect, Moik. We feel the wind.
You feel wind. Okay, we've got it. We feel wind. There we go. We can
Then
keep
what's
it.
the
Now
cause?
give us. Why don't you
Oh,
guys
what
give us?
fucking breakthrough! What
Why don't you-
fucking breakthrough!
Why don't you guys give us the hypothesis for this? Why are you? Why?
Okay,
Give us the
because we got to
hypothesis.
proceed forward to the second observational point. The
No,
second
you need to-
hand.
we have-
the
we already-
second
hold on.
hand that you held out to the side.
Dude, we have an effect. Wind on our hand. It's time for the hypothesis.
And we need the actual second observation point in the experiment,
No,
which
we
is
already have
what
the
did you
effect.
feel on the other hand?
I don't think you're doing this right.
That's why I said, Jeremy. I don't know what to do in this pseudo reality here. Where do you go next? What do you do?
They're not. He's trying to have two effects. I don't. Dude, we get one effect and then you get a hypothesis.
Just tell us what's
We're
next.
still waiting on the
Cowbell. You're-
observation.
Cowbell,
You
this is
feel the
your
wind
method.
on the hand in
We
front.
have the observation.
What about
We
the other
feel
hand?
Wind. We feel wind on our hand. Observation, and that's the effect. Time for
And the
time
other
for
hand?
hypothesis.
That was part of the instructions. Was the
No,
other hand?
No.
What
we get
was
an effect.
Yes.
We get an effect, a natural observed phenomena, and then you go to step two, hypothesis. We have the effect. We feel wind on our hand. Time for the hypothesis.
We can move forward.
You guys are trying to do some weird stuff.
That's why I say, Jeremy,
I-
I can entertain the pseudoscience to a degree, but where next is difficult to know. He's not even telling us, Cowbells. What do we do?
The second observation point. What did you feel on the other hand?
We don't. There's no second observation point, dude. We have the effect. It's time for the hypothesis.
Dick fuck. We're asking about the effect.
They don't do it like that, Jeremy.
I don't know. This is on you then, Kimo.
Maybe
I don't know where.
got question.
I don't
So
know where
what
to
did
go
you
from
feel on your other hand?
What does he mean?
This has nothing to do with it.
This is just ridiculous.
What are you
This is
talking
ridiculous.
about?
What did you
Cowbells?
feel on your other hand?
This is ridiculous.
Let's try again,
You wanna
Cowbells. So
understand
we've
about
got the
that.
hand, we feel wind.
Jeremy thinks it's
You're asking about the
ridiculous,
other
so-
hand. Does the other hand feel wind also, right?
Correct. What's your observation?
What did we observe? Well, it
on
was
our
more of a
hand.
feeling, right? We felt the wind.
Oh my god.
You're already fucked up, douchebag.
I don't know what to do in this pseudoscience reality, so you'll have to explain it to me. How do you do it, Cowboy?
My evidence.
What did you feel on the other hand that you held off to the side?
Why don't you just tell us the experiment and then we can go through it?
Because it's necessary for your observations.
Look, just explain your science experiment, your version of what's going on.
Explain your pseudoscience.
You know that you can't actually have the hypothesis, the independent, dependent variable while you're doing it because it introduces the possibility of a bias. It's called a blind in experimentation. So we're just asking you for your observations.
Dude, this is not a blind experiment.
We've already got halfway there. We've got halfway there.
Oh my god.
You said you felt wind
crazy,
up on
Chemo.
your hand. Now what about the other hand off to the side?
Crazy.
They're bugging, Chemo.
I don't know what's going on. So, okay, other hand, we feel wind, no wind. Okay, we feel wind on one hand, no wind on the other hand. What's now?
Boy.
Thank you.
Okay, what's next?
So you feel.
Oh, hold on, Jeremy. Let him get
pressure
through it. Let him get through the
next
version.
to low pressure.
Okay.
Ooh.
So what, you think we've proved... Okay, go on, sorry. Go on, what's next now? Yeah, conclusion?
Well, what did I just say?
I don't know, Moik was over talking. I can't hear you when you and Moik are talking at the same time.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
You observed high pressure next to low pressure.
You observe high pressure next to low pressure.
What's the hypothesis? That was the hypothesis right there?
What was your independent variable?
He's begging the question because he's saying it's pressure before you're.
I think he's
you're
just winging
prove,
it, like 21.
Are you trying to prove pressure? Because you're saying it's pressure.
Not trying to prove pressure.
So you can't say I feel pressure. We're saying Chemo's saying pressure doesn't exist.
No. Atmospheric pressure, Jeremy, doesn't exist. Atmospheric pressure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
He's saying you observe. Go ahead. Just continue, Cowboys.
You established that you felt pressure, high pressure, next to low pressure.
No, that's what you're saying the experiment is. We haven't tested that. We're just going along with what you're saying.
You all provided the observations. You did the test.
We're just parroting what you told us. You said you can feel something in one hand, you don't feel it in the other hand. Okay.
No, you said you felt pressure on the one hand and you didn't feel it on the other.
I said whatever you wanted me to say so we could move forward to the conclusion.
Did you lie?
That was not correct. So you lied?
No, that's what pseudoscience...
Did you now introduce an unfair bias?
That's what pseudoscience is. You make it up. You make it up as you go along. You don't test anything.
Exactly.
Can you coherently and concisely give us the effect, the natural observed phenomenon, please?
Now we're talking science. Yeah, now we're talking science.
It should be one sentence. Let's go. Give us the
effect. This is real science now. Go ahead, Cowboys.
So you didn't actually do the experiment.
Give me the effect. One sentence, please.
Yeah, we did your version of an experiment. Now we're going to do the proper version.
Here's something for a hypothesis. Can you observe high pressure near a low pressure?
That is not a hypothesis.
No, you cannot observe this in nature, no.
That's not even a hypothesis.
I don't know where he's getting this from.
That's not a hypothesis. Why not?
Okay, Cowboys, let's try our version, all right? Because we did your version. So let's do... Hello?
Actually, no. You gave indication you didn't do the experiment. You
Hold on, someone's saying
whatever
something.
You thought you wanted to say.
Somebody's trying to say something, I think.
Chemo, I just want to say, we see high pressure next to low pressure every single day. Just look at how an airfoil operates. You want to deny that? You want to? You can just deny
airfoil? Did you say airfoil?
Yeah, an airfoil.
What about
it's the same way that birds fly because they have simulated airfoils on their wings as well.
No, that's density, relative density.
No.
Yeah.
Lift is produced by a differential of the pressures above and below the airfoil.
Yeah, but if there's no medium there for them to press off, they won't fly, right? They need that density to move.
So we're not going to do
now
this.
you're obfuscating. Your point was that you can't see a high pressure, a variation of pressure next to each other.
Yeah,
or
you
high
don't
pressure
observe.
next
You
to a
don't
low
observe
pressure.
in nature pressure, high pressure,
Bird's way.
or low pressure,
Birds-
or any kind
Every
of pressure.
every bird that flies, chemo.
Are we
What,
doing this
observe-
science or no?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Are we going to do this science? Let me get the effect
Do
in
the
one
science.
sentence, please.
Fucking give me a fucking break.
Let's get this effect in
Doing
one
the
sentence,
science.
please, Cat.
Chris,
About-
Kosho's downstairs. If you want to go and do some trivia or ask about your back
No, it's
or fix a
fucking.
computer.
It's just retarded. What pretending
Right
that you're
now,
some
we're
sort of
focused
scientist,
on
Jeremy.
science, Chris. We've been doing it all day.
Aye,
Now you come
gonna
along.
Go, I'm going to go hang with Kosho.
Catch you later, yeah.
I'm all fired up because we're about to
Jeremy's
do
so
some science.
confident, though.
Jeremy's
Give
on
me the
Jeremy's
effect.
on fire right now, yeah.
Can you guys give me the effect to this experiment, to this thing we're about to do, please?
You retard.
Are you doing science, Jeremy?
I thought we were gonna, but they don't. I don't know. They're not.
No, Jeremy, this is
Let's do
Cowbows.
your
Cowbows
first
is into
experiment.
science at the moment. He just wants to know which is
Yeah.
the right method.
Cabals, what's the effect that we observed? It's called your dependent variable.
Oh
the
boy, listen to Jeremy
experiment.
talk science.
Fucking,
Yeah,
I know.
we
it's
need it. We're gonna need an
painful.
effect.
Cowboys, don't be afraid now. So we went through your version of science. Do you mind if you go through our
No,
version
you actually
or the
didn't.
version?
You actually falsified your observations.
Your
is what you
version of
stated.
science.
Okay,
was
fine, but let's not argue about it.
No, that's actually not fine, and you know it.
Okay, fine, not fine. But can we go through our version of science now, like we did with yours?
He didn't even have a
You can try.
hypothesis.
Okay, thank you.
What's
Finally,
what's your
Jeremy.
version of science achieved, Chemo?
Finally,
mean
so
with
Jeremy,
your word?
ask him. Let's go through our version of science and let's see if we can find out.
Before you
something.
do that, can you give me, Chemo, before you go through it, can you give me an example of anything your science has achieved recently?
I can give you all that and more, Chris. But right now, we're in the
okay,
middle
okay,
of
okay.
we're in the middle of going through.
I'm in the middle of
the
asking.
correct method.
Brand new.
I'm
Damning,
interested in what your experiment is. Go ahead. What's your
About-
experiment?
No, this is your
so
thing.
fucking stupid.
No, what's your experiment?
No, we're
Since you
going to
were
say
asked-
we're going to say pressure. We're going to say we
Claim it.
observe pressure. Yeah, we're going to go with your presupposed idea of pressure. We're going to work with that. You think there's pressure already, right? So we're going to say
he-
yeah, we
he knows
observe.
that.
Negative. That is incorrect.
He can't do it, Chemo.
He
'cause
can't
knows
do it,
he's
no,
got
that's
no
right.
Real science.
Exactly.
You know and
exactly,
understand
Jeremy.
that
Real
preposition
science. He doesn't
falls
want to do it.
apart when you actually apply the concept to data sets outside the initial one, or utilize it to actually demonstrate and observe and predict results.
What's your
Presupposition claims fall apart under that.
Cabals, do you know step 1 of the scientific method?
Oh,
You
How
mean
is it
quantum
generally accepted? It's observation.
You
Okay,
mean
why don't you
quantum
give us-
arrays of cherry
why don't-
picking, right? That is what you're referring to.
You're
Quantum
gonna
arrays of
need
cherry
an
picked stuff,
you're gonna need an effect.
not scientific
or
versions at all, right?
You're gonna need a natural observed phenomena because you can't make a hypothesis without
That's Q
this.
is cherry picking again.
No, it's
Listen
you
to
can't have
Jeremy memorizing QE's lines.
you can't have a hypothesis without this. It's not memorizing QE's lines. It's
Absolutely,
outside
it
of
is,
those.
Jeremy, because you have no experience with
Look,
any of
you're
this.
derailing now, guys. We were on a very simple path with cowbows.
Oh,
we
right,
went
go
through.
do your fucking retarded stupid science, and I want you to point out the difference.
We went
between
through
your
his version of science. He went straight to hypothesis, which was fine. We allowed him to
Kim,
beg
go
the
there and do
question,
it.
and we allowed the
Fucking get it over
pseudoscience,
with.
and we come to a conclusion. But when we asked him, "Hey, cowbows, can you go through our version of science?" He's like, "Oh wow, I don't know about that. Oh, I'm not sure if I really want to do real
That's
science."
actually incorrect. And
Oh,
you
so
know
you
it,
do
Timo.
want to do it, right? So can we
Don't
go
put words
through?
in my mouth that are not true, and you know it.
Okay, so
About
let's say we
give us the
observe. Let's say
Oh
we
my
both
God.
observe pressure in nature.
How about
Okay.
let's not say, let's actually do it.
Okay, we're observing pressure.
We observe pressure in
That you're
nature. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Cabals, is this what we're observing? Pressure?
This is your method, so go ahead. If it's
Yeah, but we're
observing
asking,
pressure,
is
then
that the
yes.
observed phenomenon, pressure? You're saying there's pressure outside, atmospheric pressure, yeah?
No.
No?
It's
Oh, let me...
different. Atmospheric pressure and pressure.
What is our natural observed phenomena? Pressure?
No, is
the
it the
effect is gonna be
atmosphere
the-
that has pressure, or is it the atmosphere has pressure, right? So that's the effect, Jeremy. Yeah, that's going to be constant.
I wonder why QE is doing that at all. Why is he shouting over?
Cowbells, do you agree that the pressure at 14.75 will be constant? Yeah.
Was being shouted at too often in his military. That's why he's now trying to do the same back in return and shout over people. Could that be the reason for his behavior?
Cowbells, do you agree that the pressure at sea level 14.75 is constant, or does it change?
That's very much sounding like a conclusion.
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
I mean, if he can't give us the effect, the dependent
The
variable.
dependent variable. What are we even doing?
Says the retarded janitor.
We can't even go forward with this. He has nothing. There's nowhere to go.
Where's your dependent variable?
My partner is a dependent
This is your
variable,
thing. Why are you asking
What did I do with
us?
it?
Why are you asking
No.
us?
You're saying this is your science.
No,
so let's go through your science.
You said you have scientific.
We are going to go through our science, but we want to know what we're going to do science on. Is it the atmosphere with pressure?
Well, you're the one setting up the experiment, so that's upon you to define. And that's fine if you want to say it's atmospheric pressure.
Jeremy, why don't you go through your method with your dome?
Let's try another one. Let's try another way.
I know. I've got an idea, Kimo. Do your science on how a siphon works.
So let's try another one. You see things fall in nature, like an apple from a tree, right, Cowbells?
I'm with you so
What's
far.
his name, Kimo?
So
What's his name?
you see an apple fall. So we're going to try and look at the cause of why it fell. We're going to try and predict why did that go, why that happened,
Sure.
right?
Let's go here. I'd love to hear what you got to say. You're going to say density?
Well, we're going to find that out. We're going to find out if it is density or if it is something else. But I want to know if Cowbells wants to go through this version or does he want to have another version of science?
Well, just say if it's density or not, and I'll fucking tell you right away.
For goodness sakes, who are me and Jeremy talking to? Are we talking to
actual method of science?
So
go ahead.
Jeremy, who are we speaking to?
If one of these guys thinks they got some real science, let me know, Kimo.
No, Kimo, this is your science now. You've already-
Jeremy's
got evidence.
This is.
You want to say it, guys?
Kimo? I'm a little
They don't-
confused here. Because
They got nothing, Kimo. So
I have
Can I
evidence.
have a
You
minute
want to say
here?
it?
Kimo?
Yeah, I want to see it, Dom.
Right, well, I'm getting awfully frustrated because we went through his method fairly, honestly, and
No,
now
you
we
did
want to
not.
say
You
go through
actually
our
stated
method. He's like,
that you
oh
did
well, I
not.
don't want to play
You were
your
not
game
honest.
now. I don't want to play your method.
So let's continue forward. What we have right now, from what you communicated, is the observation of an apple falling.
Oh, you want to do the apple falling one, not the pressure now.
No, Kimo.
No, that's what you shifted to. If you want to go back to the pressure one, that's fine.
No,
No,
because
you want-
you're saying that there is atmospheric pressure, right?
No, this is your thing.
No,
What
you're
is
dodging.
your
All right. Anyway,
science?
look,
Why?
let's bring Dawn in for a second or two.
I'm
Dawn.
down to answer the density
Okay.
one. I got a good one for you.
Obviously, I've admitted that I can't prove Earth's a globe, and I've admitted flat Earth is a phenomenon and it appears flat. Where when you walk around, it appears flat. But I've got my drone, yeah, so I'm sitting there at sunset, and we watch the sun go down behind the horizon or away. It sets, and then I zoom my drone up 300 feet, and I can see the sun.
yes, what happened
So I'm
is
wondering if this is evidence for a curved Earth, maybe, or
it's done.
or
you made
rotation.
Don, you made an angle change. You can put your
Let me
eyes.
show you the Let me show you the pictures.
No,
Oh,
I
Jeremy
understand.
understands the
Why did
angle
we get
change
off of
now.
the
in
density?
perspective.
Yes,
Same
we're
5
trying to
second clip.
proceed forward with their science.
Because it's boring as
Experiment.
fuck.
I'm at ground
sick of
level,
it,
the
that's why.
sunset,
Shut up.
and then I go weird all the way up.
Excuse you, Aries. We're trying to proceed forward with their science, as in
I
chemo's
can redo
science.
this, obviously, with
So
on
go
linear
ahead,
mode,
Chemo.
so it's a
We're-
bit
we're
less
still
fisheye. But
waiting.
the theory's showing that
They don't
there's
have
no
sun.
sun. I zoom up, and then there's a sun. This is good
You
evidence,
made an
right?
angle change. Your angle will depend on
Yeah, I
if you can
did.
see things. Yeah, your
I made
angle.
an
Will,
angle change, Jeremy. Yeah.
yes, your angle will depend on if you can get your eye so low to a chessboard that you won't be able to see the squares. And then if you make an angle change,
on top of
Yeah, but we're not talking about
then if you-
squares. We're talking about a round ball above the board, Jeremy, the sun.
I know, and then you make an angle change
Please,
to the
Chemo,
board.
please continue.
Yeah.
Still waiting for
And then you
Angle
can see
change. I went up, and I've got an angle change.
And now you can see the squares on the chessboard again.
No, I'm not
Right, so
talking
why
about the
is it
squares.
then?
I'm not
Hold on
talking
one
about the
second.
ground. I'm
What-
talking
what
about
we've
observing a
done-
ball above the
just one
board,
second.
the sun.
Right.
What if?
Let me
what
run
if
you.
I'd
Let me
done-
run you through one
Oh,
more.
Jeremy, hold on. What I've done, I saw the sunset. It went up 150 feet, right? And then the sunset again, and it went up, say, just another 50 feet, and he saw the sun again.
It is. It's
I
set
have
once.
something else that
Then I
might
went
help
up,
you visualize.
and there it is.
No, hold on,
Ready
Don. I
to
have
set
some,
again.
Don, I have something else that will help you visualize this.
Okay.
Pretend you have a flat surface and it's 100 miles, and I place a brick right past the point to where you can't see the brick with your naked eye. Let's
100
pretend you have
miles,
the.
Yeah, it's going to
let's
be hard to
pretend-
see a brick.
No, I'm just gonna move it out a mile, 2 mile, whatever, however far till you can't see the brick.
Okay, yeah,
All right?
1 mile.
I have a brick in my hand. You can no longer see the brick with your naked eye. I'm gonna put it on the ground, right? Then I'm gonna take
okay.
another brick. Then I'm gonna take another brick and put it on top of that. And then I'm gonna put another brick and put it on top, and I'm gonna keep stacking brick. Eventually, you're gonna be able to see the bricks, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You'll never be able to see that bottom brick, though.
Probably not. No, it'll still be blurred into the ground,
because it's
right?
still. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? This is giving the appearance on a flat surface.
But that's
of how-
nothing to do with my observation, Jeremy. I'm going up and looking at the sun above the flat Earth, but when I'm close to the ground, it's already set. So to me, it's like it's gone round over a curve. You know what I mean? Because I can see it when I go higher.
So you're making an angle. The angle change will let you see that bottom brick again.
exactly,
If we have pretend we're back at the bricks.
It's not a
If
bottom
we-
brick. Though. It's a ball. It's a ball above the ground. It's a ball above the ground, right? It's a big sphere above the ground. It's not or
Yeah,
some sort of
something
hologram.
that's
Heat
3,000 miles
hologram.
above the ground is not at the ground as a brick.
Well, I know what you mean, Jeremy. Something's near the ground, blur in, but the sun's not near the ground, is it? Or else it would be burning people up.
This is just appearing that way. It's just appearing that way because of perspective.
Okay, perspective. It's making it appear like sun's set, but when I go up, it's not set. Like
There's other factors at play too. There's atmospheric conditions. There's a lot of conditions going on out there. You got
surely the most logical way to debunk me would just be saying that's a hill.
I didn't see the picture that you that you posted.
It's not a hill. It's quite flat. It's Norfolk. And I witnessed the sun go down, and then I flew multiple flights and kept seeing the sun again. So it's quite compelling evidence if you think about the angles and what the sun might be above the Earth.
I mean, it does look like you're in a valley right there. So
Fish shot. It's warping the picture around.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again, and I can upload the whole clip with a linear mode on the GoPro.
It'll show the same thing. It's got to
It'll be mostly flat. But so, is this evidence for a globe? If I did it over the water, maybe to prove it was flat ground. Flat surface.
No, you're just making an angle change, and you're going to get a different perspective. When you raise the drone up.
That's the point, Joe. We just make an angle change, we get a different perspective, and we see something that wasn't seen before.
Of course, we do that every day, and
Something that's supposed to be above the ground in the sky.
Dude, every day, 1,000,000 times a day, you make an angle change and change your perspective so that you can see things you haven't seen before. You do that so many times a day.
See round corners sometimes, right?
What's up?
It helps us see round corners sometimes when we do an angle change.
We generally don't.
We're walking around.
Oh yeah, if you make an angle change, yeah, you see around a corner. Yes.
But when we're walking and just looking at a flat wall, we don't necessarily have to do the angle change. We could, but angle changes normally help you look round stuff, right? In day-to-day life, if you need to see round something, you do an angle change.
Well, if you put your eye, if you put your eye super close to the wall, like I explained with the bricks, and then made the angle change.
Ooh,
when you say angle change, you mean I'm moving and changing the angle from the thing I'm looking at. Right?
Yes, you're changing your perspective on it. The angle.
When you say angle change, I keep thinking you mean I've turned.
No.
Jeremy,
No.
if I stood next to a very long, straight object, let's say a very straight wall that went on for miles, and I went right up to that wall, would things at, like, let's say, if I put my eye right up against it, would things 2 miles away blend into the surface?
What are we doing?
I'll make a vertical horizon. I want to go next to an object that's 2 or 3 miles long,
All right.
and I put my eye right up against it. Will things, using Lemonbird's theory that things get squished into horizons, and I'm maybe going to turn my.
Are you doubting that compression happens?
Well, I'm asking you, if I stand up against this wall, do you think that things will suck into the wall?
I mean, have you not seen the evidence of the compression thing happening with the hotel floors in that one video?
And did you answer my question? I don't know. It didn't sound.
We're debating on something that's like not even. This is really isn't even debatable.
Yes, Jeremy. On that whole thing, though, your brick, is that going to be 5.7 degrees angular size when it shows up again?
Well, hold on. Do we not all understand that compression happens at the horizon?
I'm not sure that it does. That's what I'm trying to decide.
Pretty sure the sun doesn't compress, really. Not much.
I mean, we can observe it with hotel. With hotel, the guy took a.
Yes, but very evidently, when we observe the sun, it does not compress. Now, does it?
I'm just saying things compress at the horizon. That's how it works.
So, well, we can all agree. If you stood right up against that wall 2 miles away, you'd still be able to see the brick with a zoom lens.
Yeah, and then you put the brick even farther out until the zoom lens can't see it.
No, I'm just doing it 2 miles because at 2 miles on Earth on the horizon, the vertical horizon, you'll see it disappear. So I'm now doing the same thing but vertical, and I think that should meet all of Lemon's conditions for the top half of your vision going into your lower half of your vision bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know about this vertical thing.
So you think there's a difference between?
What happens then?
So you think there's a difference between vertical, your eyes working vertically and horizontally. So what if I turn my head sideways and look down?
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Oh yeah, but it makes total sense what Lemon says. You buy into it wholly because you're. Goodbye.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Because you're a mom.
There's the surprise.
You guys had me all fired up. I thought we were about to do some. I thought we were about to do some science. Oh yeah,
Jeremy got excited.
Oh yeah, he's running circles. A chicken with his head cut off.
I honestly don't.
Like a chicken with his head cut off.
I don't. I'm inverting the.
Mine's height on this.
It says
altitude.
I'm inverting the scenario that Lemon has, and I'm asking whether he thinks that it works the same way. So we can decide whether we can make a test, because I'm talking to moms who can't figure things out.
Yeah, none of this, just like I said to Cowbells, you're not following the scientific method, so therefore your conclusion will be flawed. What you say,
Obviously, Moyox just made something up, but I followed it.
Yeah.
I changed altitude as the independent variable and observed 2 altitudes and everything in between.
I mean, the thing with the vertical wall really didn't. It was trying to be an analogous or something. I don't know what he was really.
I'm trying to find out if you are right that perspective makes things squish into things.
Well, we can observe that.
We were on a good path there. We were on a good path with Cowbell there, Jeremy. And as usual, Moyak does what Moyak does. Just jumps in with his silly little stories.
Jeremy. Chemo, I think I was talking to Jeremy. You talked to
No. We were talking and you've gone, I'm not talking to Chemo, I'm saying this to the room. You derailed the scientific conversation. Cowbell's had an experiment on the table, Moyak, and you've decided once again, no, this is all about me, little old Moyak here, with my issues and my problems, and let's talk about my stories. Nothing, and then you end up calling Jeremy names. Right? Everybody else can get through a conversation without giving... Moyak, you don't know if you're in or if you're out. You're ruining the flow of the conversation. You go, I'm in, oh, I'm not in anymore, I've had enough. And then when someone else joins in, then you decide to jump back in, ruining their conversation.
My conversation with Jeremy.
Yeah, and then until he speaks with someone else, until you give up. When you give up, someone else will take over, and then you jump in. No, because then you're ruining someone else's conversation just because you gave up.
Ah, but Kimo, this isn't really about a conversation, though. This is about you and Jeremy playing your stupid, retarded quantum eraser, school of perverted science games where you're fucking independent variable hypothesis bollocks. It's fucking
the science the schools teach. How dare us?
All right, that's great. Jeremy,
How dare us
give me an
try to
example of
here he goes again.
Give me an example, Jeremy, of your science that's done something recently, it's achieved anything recently.
Try to use the science they taught us in school. How dare us?
Right, well, but what I'm asking you, Jeremy, is your version of science. Tell me what it's achieved.
That's not my version. That is the version of the scientific method.
Well, bollocks.
It's not my version or QE's version or Chemo's version. It's the version.
For the last fucking 15, 20 minutes, Chemo's just called our so-called version pseudoscience, and now they're going to do his version.
What I meant was, you're probably right. I didn't mean like as in like mine or Q, but what I meant is the way that we do it versus the way that you guys do it. So we did your version.
Okay, let's build upon what he said and
Chemo,
continue on the conversation from earlier. Let's go through.
No, you're right there, Jamie.
I
should have said my or
what
ours.
is
It's
your
kind of
process? Let's go through your process.
Because I've got to go now. I'll be back in about half an hour. I've got to go, fortunately. Back in about half an hour. I'm listening now. But Jeremy, don't let Moyuk shut you down when he realises that he doesn't have a method to follow. No method. It's all over the place. And we want the conclusion, Jeremy. Very important they have a conclusion, how they came to that conclusion.
All right,
Chemo, before you go,
we'll pick it up. Let me know when you get back, Chemo.
Chemo, before you go, can I ask you a question?
It's really weird that we have, we have. Sorry, I'm sure someone was in the middle of the sentence, but carry on.
Chemo, can I ask you a question?
Sure, go for it.
Go for it, right. Okay, well, as we were discussing vacuum chambers last, we sort of agreed that you put that chamber up and you did something to it to make that vacuum. What was that we had to do to make the vacuum?
Got to lower the pressure. By
lower the pressure. You know, isn't it interesting that you have to lower the pressure? If there was no pressure, as in no atmospheric pressure, then there would be no pressure to lower that, would there?
But you can't have pressure without the container.
Well, and very evidently, as you just put the container on the table and you're now lowering the pressure, then yes, you can.
Without the container, there can be no pressure. Very simple.
Oh, really? Blow on your hand. Where's the container?
No, I wanted to run through the scientific method of how
Anyway,
we
I'll back
determine
as soon
that
as I
to be
can.
the case when all we've got is basically a container that's open to the air. We shut that container, now magically it has pressure.
Which you got some science, Dross, you said?
No, I was asking Chemo for his method of how he determined that there was no pressure in there using Chemo's scientific method. Don't you find it strange, Jeremy, that we, as soon as we close the door on that container, that now we have pressure? We open that door, there's no pressure. We close the door, there's pressure.
Yes, because what
Isn't that
Chemo is
stupid?
communicating is that his scientific method is just to make an observation and then jump straight to a conclusion. No experiment, no nothing.
No, that's not how the scientific method works. I don't think
You're right, Jeremy. That's not how the scientific method works. That's how Chemo's method works.
Well, do you have any science for proving? I mean, I hate to even take this argument up, but do you have any science proving?
Jeremy's the arbiter of what science is and what science isn't now.
Do you have? Can you follow the scientific method?
Yes,
proving
Jeremy.
That there's pressure. The gas
The evidence, yes, Jeremy. The evidence that there is pressure is that if you put a glass ball on the table and you want to make a vacuum in it, you have to remove the pressure in it.
What is
that simple? If you cannot make a vacuum without removing the pressure. Then very evidently there is pressure.
Okay, listen. Do you guys have any science for the globe?
That is science.
Is this a
Take
scientific
a
globe
vacuum
model or
without
what?
removing the pressure, Jeremy. Come on.
Give me the
About
natural
barometric pressure, aren't we, Jeremy? Let's stick on a topic rather than try and divert from the topic. So the
This
question you've
pressure
got
thing
is,
isn't. Listen,
Well-
this isn't my argument. This pressure thing.
then just reject it. That's fine. You don't have to argue it if it's not your argument.
Alright.
If you don't agree with it, if you think it's wrong, just do what we do and say, well, we don't agree with that. We think it's wrong.
Just whatever. If you guys want to talk about it, go ahead.
But if you think it's something that you do believe is true, then you need to have a good argument about why. And so let's move on.
I mean,
to
he's saying
Come.
to be fair, Chemo is saying that this thing doesn't exist, and you're saying it does. So the proof is on you to prove that it does exist.
which we do with a barometer next.
Not.
Yes, it is.
No,
That's how-
it's fine. I don't care because we demonstrate atmospheric pressure with a barometer. We can use a vacuum chamber to say we have to remove atmosphere from that vacuum chamber to lower the pressure. So we have direct, tangible, observable results saying that the observation is that there is pressure there. What's the problem with that?
I don't know. I think Chemo had some problem with how does the barometer know it's. I don't know. This isn't my argument. I'm not going down that road.
The barometer works quite simply. Let me just finish very quickly. The barometer works very, very simply. If there's no weight of atmosphere, if there's no pressure, then the barometer will read zero, i.e. the mercury will not be forced up the tube. If there is pressure, the mercury will be forced up the tube. Simple. It's not fucking complicated. And this is what Chemo's been arguing about for about a year, because it's a great deflection. And also what it does is it means he doesn't have to worry about, he's trying to avoid discussing why we have a pressure gradient in our atmosphere, because it's why he doesn't like when I say we have low pressure next to low pressure. Because we observe that in nature fucking everywhere. And it destroys his point. Because now he can't say you need a container because all we're observing is low pressure next to low pressure. I'm done.
They don't care though.
The pressure gradient.
They don't care. They want to play their stupid little quantum eraser games. That's all they're doing. And Jeremy fucking thinks that because he's learned enough, heard enough, and can repeat enough from quantum eraser that he can play this stupid retarded game. This is a guy who didn't know how to do fucking Pythagoras, fucking a year ago.
Yeah.
Not even that long ago.
Yes, I've got something that will make you laugh. I got Quantum Eraser to quote a NASA paper as a citation.
Of course, we always use NASA. NASA is the best place to cite from.
We always use NASA. When was the last time you
use
used NASA, Jeremy?
I use NASA. I use NASA every day.
Jeremy's a big part of the FE movement, Chris. I don't think.
NASA's the best kind of
NASA is a
citation
valid
there is.
source. Yeah, so NASA is a valid source of citations. Yeah.
It's hostile witness.
Sound like the real?
I mean, you guys think.
No. Either you have a valid source for citations, or you don't have a valid source for citations.
I'm using them
it?
as a hostile witness. That way, you can't argue. You can't argue with the
It's not a
citation.
court of law. We're talking about the way to. We're talking about evidential confidence. Are you confident in the evidence that NASA provides you for your citations?
Absolutely not, but you are, and that's why we use
Fine.
it. That way, you
Great.
can't argue it after that.
So that means that you quoting NASA is pointless because it's a source you do not agree with. Now,
You
if you're
can't
saying
argue. Okay, when I quote NASA, you're in no position to argue that point because you trust them.
no, I can still argue the point.
That's not right.
So you don't believe? You
Yeah,
think
you
NASA?
do.
So you don't think NASA's? So you
That's
don't
a
think
very
NASA's a reputation?
I'm always skeptical about how people employ a citation. Yeah.
Do you think that?
So I haven't finished my point. So, in my view, you're presenting a dishonest citation because it's not a citation you're holding to. You don't agree with the findings. All you're trying to do is try and find a gotcha to try and then say, look, it says this. Now, does NASA say that the Earth is a globe?
I know you know this, Josh. It's called a hostile witness, and you're allowed to do this. So I don't know.
We're talking about science.
Like you don't know.
But we're not in a court case, so what are you talking about? A hostile witness?
We're talking about science here, so there's no such thing as a hostile witness in science. This is not.
Well, if you got some science, let's hear it.
Cool. I'm quoting the body of work from NASA, space exploration, telemetry data from Earth, weather analysis.
Let's have your dependent variable, your natural observed phenomena.
For what particular object? What particular thing?
Science.
For? No. What? So we're talking about the entire world. What are you talking about? What do you want an independent variable for?
No, I want your dependent variable, your observed phenomena.
What do you want your what observation are you talking about?
I don't know. You said you had science. Let's go. Break me off with something.
Cool. We have observations that the Earth is a globe. We don't need to move any further than that.
I got you. Hold on.
Now we have an observation. Wait, I'm going to finish here because an observation is empirical. So that's not something we need to draw.
It's not empirical. Sorry.
It is empirical.
It's not absolutely empirical. It's just the first step of a scientific, methodology.
So we're not doing science then?
Observations are empirical.
Is that your way of getting out of this?
No, it's not.
Observation is not science. It just sort of the entry door.
Yeah, and we need an observation. We need an observation to start our hypothesis, don't we?
Yeah. So, do you have any science, Trust?
No, we don't need science to show the shape of the Earth because it's an observation.
No, it's not. Okay, while we observe flat.
Druss is right on this because it's a what is question, not a how why question.
Hang on. Does anyone else get a chance or what?
The shape of Earth isn't the shape of something
Jeremy,
isn't a scientific endeavor unless you're asking how it got to be that shape.
Let him finish. Jeremy,
why are you
does
drowning
anyone
me
else
out?
get a chance in? Are you two just going to sit here bantering bullshit to each other? How about those who wants to ask, Jeremy, why do you suck QE's dick and spat it back here?
He likes
I'm so glad you interrupted, and now we got Stone. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, why do you suck QE's dick? I want to know that.
All right, get it all out.
How often do you wash his balls, Jeremy?
Why are you guys so interested in this guy's balls and genitals and sucking his dick?
Because it's funny to mock him. That's why.
It's not. You're not mocking anything but homosexuality. You fucking weirdo.
No. If I don't care the gender. If he's washing his balls, that means.
Go suck his balls and then trying to pretend like you're mocking something. You're not mocking anything.
Well, that is. If you don't understand what I mean by washing someone's balls or being a ball washer, then maybe you should look it up and you'll find out what that actually means.
Maybe I won't look up what a ball washer is. Maybe I'm just gonna go on about my life instead of worrying about some guy's balls. You fucking weirdo.
Well, I mean, you can do that if you want. That's up to you.
Can we continue on with this? I have a question for Dross.
Chris, instead of ball washer, maybe you should refer to Jeremy as a fluffer for QE.
A fluffer, yeah, fluffer, a ball washer, a sycophant, a fucking, I don't know, a lick spittle, a beaten cunt.
Fucking DM QE and asking for dick pics.
Hold on, Jeremy. I posted a picture for you.
No, I have a. Me and Dross were right in the middle of something. Slow down. I have a question for him now. You there, Dross?
There you go.
See what happened?
Hold on one second, Jeremy. A ball washer, someone who follows those of higher social standing and backs them no matter what. They will stick up for their hero, even when their hero has been proven to be a bad person, a thief, or general scumbag. I love that. That's a perfect definition of a ball washer.
Okay, Jeremy.
This is slanderous nonsense.
Jeremy, that's nice. Jeremy, I just posted a picture right now. This is what I was trying to describe. You go out to LIGO, you put 2 bricks down on the end on LIGO. We know it's a straight line. We're going to stand along the side of it and put our eye right up against it, a little telescope. Little green circle is my telescope. I'm going to look down. Do you think that those bricks at the end will be obscured and sucked into the tube? Or will they still be visible?
I don't know. Let's see the pictures of it.
You don't know.
You posted a drawing. Are you Dr. Average Guy?
would that be useful to you if you look down there and you saw those bricks in determining that perspective doesn't make things suck into horizons?
Are you denying that compression happens at the horizon? Because I've actually seen
No,
that.
I'm saying what would happen with this tube?
What'd you say?
Would it suck into the tube?
So we're inside we're inside the LIGO tube. Hold on a second. We're inside the LIGO tube. Go ahead.
Not inside, we're outside. Look at the guy. See the little smiley face?
We're
He's
inside
standing
the
alongside
LIGO
LIGO.
facility.
No, we're outside LIGO, moron. I've said it 3 times now. So you're outside LIGO. You put your eye up against LIGO with a telescope, and you look down at 2 bricks that you put down at the end. Will you be able to see them, or and do you cotton to Lemonbird's idea of how perspective?
I'm not about to make some kind of prediction about something that I don't know.
You should make a prediction based on Lemon's.
There could be a lot of atmospheric turbidity that day, and you won't see nothing.
No turbidity. It's out in the desert.
I don't know. I'm not making predictions on stuff. Like, let's just do it and see.
No, we have to know what it would prove to you before we waste time doing something. Because you're going to fucking deny everything is.
We need a hypothesis to test against, don't we? If we're going to use the scientific.
Well, my
method.
hypothesis is if you have enough resolution on your camera, you'll see both bricks perfectly.
All right. We got some science. Bet. What's your natural observed phenomena? Your dependent variable. Go.
Well, no, I'm going with somebody else's science, flat Earth science, which says that the first half of your eye compresses into the second half of your eye and makes things blur together with the surface over long distance.
That's your natural observed phenomena?
That's the claim. That's their hypothesis. I disbelieve.
Do you have any science?
I believe that you would see it.
Do you have any of your own science for anything relating to the globe model?
Would be my science.
What's up?
Would be my science.
Phenomena is you see things at a distance and they don't blur into some object. That's the observed phenomenon.
Oh, you got something, Zanuck? Okay, hold on.
That's the no, he's absolutely right. I mean, you're not getting it. You're trying to ram this scientific method, and I can play that. We can play that game with you, by the way. Not a hard idea. We can.
I've seen you play this game, Zanuck. You're terrible.
We can do that very easily.
I've seen you play this game. You're terrible.
No. We can have. So the hypothesis that he's talking about is that if we have an object,
the observed natural phenomena.
Jeremy, shut up.
Zanuck.
We have 2. Can I tell you the observed phenomena and the hypothesis?
What's the observed natural phenomena? No, observed natural phenomena. Step 1.
That we see things. That we see things at a distance, unlimited, and only limited to the lens.
Can you give a concise, coherent statement?
What?
Can you give a concise, coherent observed natural phenomena?
You're talking over me.
Yeah, Jeremy,
you're going off on a tangent.
Jeremy,
no, I'm not.
Let him finish his point and then respond. Come on.
You asked me the observed phenomena. The observed phenomena is that you can see things almost infinitely far away without problem, as long as the lens accommodate that object's in the distance and its size angularly.
We can see things infinitely far without problem. What else?
Resolution
infinitely far, as long as against the straight object.
Stop. We can see things infinitely far without a problem.
As long as.
Did you want me to add something onto that?
So you're trying to add something on to the end of that, Jeremy, which you missed off. Go ahead.
As long as the lens can accommodate the objects with magnification.
As long as lens can magnify.
As long as the lens can magnify, we can see infinitely far.
Okay. See things infinitely far without problem as long as the lens can magnify. That's your observed natural phenomena.
But there's a limit, though, right? Because
we're not
zooming
into
the moon, right? I'm saying recognize the limit, Jeremy. Don't go to infinite.
The lens. I shouldn't use.
Don, let Zanuck do this, please.
We can see what we see through a magnification of a telescope or a lens.
So we can see things infinitely far.
The distance we can see is strictly dependent upon the magnification of the lens. How about that?
Okay, I'm going to read off what you read to me, and you tell me if this is correct. We see things infinitely far without problem as long as lens can magnify. Do you want to change it?
Let's make it a little more concise. You can say the only limitation to how far we can see. How about this? The only limitation to how far we can see is the magnification of the lens.
Okay, hold on. Let me erase this and start over. Are you just going to make this up on the spot?
No,
I know
this,
you can't
this
do
is what
this.
you're asking for. You're asking for the observed phenomena, and the observed phenomena. There's no.
Zanuck, why are you playing his stupid fucking games? He doesn't have a
Zanuck
clue what
loves
he's
it.
talking about.
Exactly. He's just being a
Zanuck loves
complete
this
dick.
game.
Why play it?
Zanuck-
Question.
Just tell him to fuck off and stop being a twat.
Fuck off, Jeremy.
Question, Jeremy. Are you trying to make a dependent variable upon an observation?
That's what your observation is in science. Are you serious right now?
No, the observation is not what you see.
Your
in science.
observation is your dependent variable.
No, the observation is not the dependent variable.
Zanuck, stop. Listen. Jeremy has not said anything for the last 30 minutes that is not an exact replica of what QE states out of his scripts.
But he's even getting that wrong.
This is just, he doesn't understand any of this. All he knows what to do is to throw back the lines that QE has. There's no point in having this logical discussion. He has no content.
If there's a thing in contention is where this should be used, Jeremy. What are you disagreeing with that you need to use this method for?
Don will sort this out.
What'd you say, Don? Say it again.
Man, fuck her, man. Anyway, what about the nature do you disagree with that you want to use this method? What are you saying, Don? What are you trying to tell us?
They talked all over you. I'm sorry.
Is he still on the drone raising up, making the sun come back into view again? Is that what you're saying? You have an alternate hypothesis for, Jeremy?
No, they said they had. They said they had science, so I was like, "Oh, all right, let's do it." Surely,
no. They have a correlation, right? You know that they have a core. I didn't like that when Don asked if it says maybe it's curved when he raises up the drone and brings somebody. You guys were like, no, and it definitely should at least be said. It could be both, or definitely yes, it first curve, but you might have an alternate hypothesis.
Don, hold on, because rocket scientist is here now, and surely he has some globe science for us.
Look, I'm trying to support you, man.
I want to ask Jeremy something. Why are you being a bigger dick today than normal? What are you trying to accomplish today? You have some time off from your mopping duties or something?
Yeah, I did.
You have not, Jeremy. You don't have a position
day.
except what you're spouting from QE. All you're throwing back at what's your dependent variable, what's this? Even if you were to get an answer to that, how the fuck would you even know if that's correct?
Because I understand what these things are.
You've demonstrated over the entire time you've been here, you don't have an understanding of science. You don't. Why are you sitting here acting like a dick and demanding these points when you don't have no comprehension of what these are?
So what is your
goal here?
To
take this information and go back to QE and see what you can get out of them, and then come back here and then spout back your crap.
What you're saying now sounds very fallacious.
No, but it's actually very representative of what I feel what you're trying to do right now. What's the point of having a discussion with you? You don't get these points. You don't understand the variation of pressure and temperature. You don't understand what an airfoil is. You don't understand any of this. You haven't even looked at what a refraction is to have even discussion on any of these points whatsoever. What are you trying to do today? Answer me that question. What is your purpose today?
I'm vaguely familiar with refraction. Okay.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least that's an honest. You know what? At least that's an honest answer.
I'm not a refraction expert. I mean, I don't know who is.
You're not an expert on any of these topics, Jeremy.
Rumpus thinks you could see your own ass in a telescope.
You don't even have. You don't even have a basic understanding of most of these concepts. Which is Zanuck, I don't mean to jump on you, but there's no point in trying to have this discussion with Jeremy. He doesn't get it. All he knows what to do is spew what QE says.
That's what makes it interesting, I think. And I think deep down he wants to learn, but he does admire and look up to QE.
No.
He tries, and it's the most sincere form of compliment is
nobody in flat Earth wants to learn.
Jeremy, do you want to learn?
Jeremy just
it wouldn't be flat earthers if they did.
Jeremy, do you want to learn, or are you just here to convince us that you're flat?
Zanuck, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you think asking Jeremy to give you an honest answer to that is the route to go? What are you trying to do?
I love to learn things. I learn things here.
I'm just
curious. I learn things here all the time.
You love to learn new methods of obfuscation. That's all.
Yeah,
I
know
never learned.
I know the answer.
Flat
but I wanna-
Earth is
I wanna
about
hear the
finding ways to not learn stuff.
I
Or to
think
pretend that things you've learned aren't real.
Jeremy, do you
Might
think
be
you know
that
more
way.
about?
Don't do that for me.
Jeremy,
I
do you
think
think
I
you know more
learned
about
more
the
in
shape
this.
of the Earth
Zanuck,
than we
hold
do?
on. You talked, and then someone else talked, and now you're going to talk again, or can I have a turn? Now, I have never learned as much in my life as since I started coming to this room. I learn stuff every day here.
Why do you repeat the things from Quantum Razor versus the things that we say? Most of the people here have a lot of expertise in this particular area of science and physics, yet you go to someone who has zero experience in that topic.
Yeah, I know you guys think there's other different methods of this to do science and everything. I know your
There are
position.
all sorts of methods to do science. Any scientist can tell you that. Any true scientist with pedigree can tell you that.
It's not just about different ways to do science.
It's true to do science, obviously.
It's about. Hang on, Lyle. I'm talking. It's about having different ways of knowing things, and QE's method is never a way of knowing anything that anybody has ever used anywhere ever.
That's a close. The QE's method is as close as you can come to knowing something, to actually proving something.
And yet, nothing you know is a result of that method. What does that tell you?
Well, because of this method, I know that a lack of vitamin C causes scurvy.
How?
Oh, right
when
out
did
of
you
Q's
when
mouth.
did you do that experiment? When was that experiment done?
I didn't do that experiment. I don't know when that experiment was done, but
well, how do you
that's
know? What was the
science right there.
independent variable? Right.
Vitamin
Right.
C.
Yeah.
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C was a dependent variable.
The dependent variable was scurvy. I mean,
How
I'm
did
making
you?
this up.
How did
off
you
the top. I'm just
isolate?
guessing.
How did you isolate all the other variables in this experiment? How did you make sure you were only testing the one variable?
I don't know the details of the experiment.
How did you vary?
Right. So this is not a way that you know this about scurvy, is it? Can't be the experiment, can't be the method, because you don't know what it is.
Right.
Sorry, I just had to say, you fucking slammed him there.
Well, the thing was, this was later isolated out later. There was at first a correlation between eating limes and stuff, and then having less scurvy. So that was isolated out.
My question.
Having
relevant to what Jeremy knows about.
Jeremy, why is QE a source of truth on anything?
Is he not the source of truth on anything?
I'm asking, why do you accept him as the source of truth on anything? Why is he a source of truth?
I accept some of you guys as a source of truth sometimes.
Perfect, but why do you believe that QE's scientific method is a source of truth? Why do you think he's a source of truth on the scientific method?
If there are many reasons, Jeremy, then you won't have a problem coming up with one.
My main one is
just wait a minute, Jeremy. If you have many reasons, you won't have a problem giving me
know what an
one.
independent variable is.
Janet, hold on.
My main reason would be that. Yeah, I heard you. My main reason would be that that method is as close as you can get to actually proving something.
No, Jeremy, he doesn't even know
because your method sucks.
He doesn't.
Your method sucks.
But I point out again, Jeremy, if that is such a good method to use, why have you never used it? And does that mean that you are now ignorant, or do we accept that there are other ways to know things?
I'm not a scientist.
Can I modify Chris's?
Are you a person who knows things? Sorry, Rob.
Not everything you know. You don't have to do science for everything you know.
Right.
I know I'm standing on a floor right now. I didn't have to do science for that. I know.
Well, there you go. There you're making.
So you can know things without this method, right? That's my point. And
but the reason they use it.
And in fact, in your case and in my case, everything we know is not via this method. So if this is such a great method,
absolutely not.
Why is it that no one's ever used it?
Why are you conflicting?
People do use that method. People, you're saying people don't ever use that method?
Name people that use it. Go ahead. Name one.
I would guess scientists.
Name
Anyone
one.
that's not doing pseudoscience is going to be
Name
using
one.
this
Oh,
method.
stop it. Name one. You don't know one. You don't know anybody that's used this method at all, ever.
It doesn't matter. You know that you haven't used it, and you know that you consider yourself to know things. Therefore, we don't need this method to know things. That's something that you have to agree on, because everything you know is... Sorry?
Let me respond to this. This method, you can know things without doing science, but when you do this science, this is as close as you can come to proving something scientifically.
I don't think that's true, but even if we accept it's true, so what?
Well, don't you want to get as close as
it? Oh, why do I need to get... You consider that there are things that you know. You aren't retesting them all, are you? You just think that's something I know because of the body of evidence supporting it. So why do I need to start now applying some lunatic, idiotic, ridiculous, absurd, made up on the internet method to things? Why would I do that?
Because, like I said, I mean, scientifically, that's as close as you can come to proving the cause of an effect.
I don't think it is.
When we have an effect,
that's not how it works.
When we have a cause effect,
why is that the truth? Why is that the truth, though, Jeremy?
When we
How
have
do
a
you know
cause,
that what you're saying is true?
Why is
because when we have it, Zanuck, it was clearly your turn to talk. When you say we have a cause effect relationship. Now, when you want to prove the cause of an effect, using this method is as close as you can come to proving it.
Jeremy, I have a quick observation. I pick up my TV controller, push the on button, and my TV turns on. I observe that. Every single day I do it. Do I need to use the scientific method to prove that the remote control turns on my TV?
Mate,
I would think not.
You basically are using it.
Jeremy, I want to rephrase something Chris said a little while ago. You made the statement that you've learned a lot by coming in here and speaking to the people here. I've heard a lot of people explain scientific concepts to you. Why is it you end up going to 24/7 and it's Groundhog Day all over again, and you come back and you reset? You said that you learn things, but you demonstrate every time you come in here, you forget everything that's been explained to you.
This is more fallacious behavior.
No, it's actually not. It's an observation.
I haven't even been at. I haven't been at 24.
Observation.
I haven't been to 24/7 in like 3 or 4 days, so I don't.
Be
even
that as
know
it may, once a week, whatever the case may be. But you come back shouting the same things all over again, forgetting everything that people have taken the time and effort to explain to you.
This is highly irrelevant to the point. It seems fallacious. Is this a red herring? I don't know what kind of fallacy you're doing.
I think it's absolutely relevant.
Thinks he's channeling Quantum Eraser.
Jeremy's sharing his new vocabulary.
Yeah, it's new.
Observation. Oh, you used to use those words in your vocabulary, right?
But back to my question.
Came up all the time.
Just one, Leo. Come on, look, Jeremy. That you had to have Curved teach you how to do Pythagoras not that long ago, and now you think you're some fucking authority on the scientific method and how science works. It's
I just told you I've never learned so much in my life since I started coming here.
Right.
So, Jeremy, why don't you tell me what the dependent variable and independent variable is for starting a car? Why does a car start? That's the dependent variable.
Do we really need to do this seriously?
I don't think I would run a car starting through the scientific method.
Why
you guys
I
see
agree
lying?
with Kurt too.
Why are you guys see lying? I sat here for 5 minutes and Jeremy, leave the fucking guy alone, man. Holy Christ.
Well, Tommy, I mean, like,
leave him alone.
Leave him the fuck alone. Shut up, M Stone. What have you ever contributed? You fucking
suck my
hillbilly.
dick, man. What do you contribute, man? This is a fucking effing debate. This is to laugh at fucking people who think the goddamn earth is flat. What the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Hey, man, don't show your feelings.
Well, he has some very nice citations, and he does help point out that gravity doesn't really have a naturally observed phenomena, so they may be making up BS.
Wait, it does too.
Yes, it does.
At a certain rate
Apple
all the time.
mutually attracting the Earth. You actually see an observed phenomenon of the apple attracting the Earth. I find that hard to believe.
Well, you watch
that
it.
Toppled out of whole
If you could present some evidence to the contrary, then I don't believe it.
We have Francis.
Lemon says observed phenomenon of mass to mass. The word gravity needs to be communicated properly here, so we don't argue and waste time.
Well, this general attraction was changed to repulsion by electrifying the mass. In Francis Nipper's experiments back in like the 19 knots or the 1920s or whatever. And so it does look like gravity may have an electromagnetic component.
If gravity has an electromagnetic component, what about the gravitational effect of neutrons that have no electromagnetic component? They have neither charge nor magnetism. And they certainly are massive, and they certainly will bend space-time.
Well, the conception of the subatomic particles, isn't that mostly theoretical? I've never seen a proton and a neutron glued together in a nucleus with electrons whirring around it. It seems to be highly conceptual.
Yeah, I've never seen China, but that doesn't mean China doesn't exist.
So if we're not seeing this, Leo, we might have other theories that are available.
You do get neutrons without protons and electrons whizzing around.
Well, I don't need other theories. I don't need other.
You have things called neutron stars.
But I don't need other theories to show me that China exists. I can see a Chinese person, and I know his heritage is from China. Why do I need other theories?
Those are unavoidable conclusions based off of the fact that we live in towns similar to China. Unless you have an analog of a neutron that's similar that makes these neutrons and these other subatomic particles unavoidable conclusions, well, then other theories are available.
None of that made sense.
Not a single really saying that we haven't seen China, therefore China exists, but it's easier to think about China existing since we live in towns similar to China with people similar to the Chinese. We don't have a similar analog neutron that makes these subatomic particles unavoidable conclusions. There are other theories.
The mountain of evidence.
The town of China.
The mountain of evidence for China existing is overwhelming. Plus, we could go there and see it if we wanted to.
So is the globe. Thanks for proving our point.
Yeah, but the point is I've never been to China. I don't see the people in China, but I can still accept that China exists. Just like I can.
If it's an unavoidable conclusion.
I've never seen the middle of an atom, but I can still believe atoms exist.
It's not an unavoidable conclusion, though. There are other theories that are available that could possibly explain.
Not. They're from China. That's the only theory. What are you talking about?
He was using this to talk about neutrons being similarly unseen, yet we have to accept it just like the existence of China. That's not the case.
But you said that you haven't seen them, therefore they don't exist. He's saying that he hasn't seen China, but he knows it exists. So way to fuck that up.
Because China is an unavoidable conclusion based off of the testimonies of people.
Is it unavoidable? I've never been there.
In similar towns and being in similar
I haven't seen it with my own eyes, therefore it doesn't
I've
exist.
avoided it my whole life. I've never been there.
Yeah, but you've never even been to a neutron. A neutron's on a different theoretical level.
Either it isn't unavoidable. I've never been there. It is avoidable.
So there are theories available that
totally avoidable. I was born without legs.
How about this there, Lemon? The alternate theory that what I'm hearing through my headphones is actually a computer-generated conversation bot. That no longer fulfills the requirement of it being an unavoidable conclusion that you're a human being.
Oh, that's a good logic. I mean, the fact is, we have better evidence. We have better evidence for the atomic theory and the subatomic particles than you have for China and God. Matter of fact, we have better evidence for UFOs than you have for God. So, where are you going, son? What the hell you got?
Well,
Yo, what the fuck is wrong?
Sound of lemon dying. That's a squished lemon.
oh, Jeremy left too.
Neutrons are
unavoidable because if I took all of them out of you, you wouldn't exist.
Indeed. And we have isolated both neutrons and protons. And we know their properties.
And
he's going to 24 for material.
Can we examine the possibility, though, of gluons?
He's sitting here communicating to you on a device that's functioning off of this whole concept we have about the subatomic, and he's sitting there telling you that it's not unavoidable to have another theory about it.
Indeed.
But it doesn't yet provide any of those other theories on how data is transmitted from one network to another without understanding that those things being transmitted are atoms. And
I actually ran into a lady at the AT&T store once, and I was telling my boy in there, the cashier, he was my friend, I was telling him how I believe in flat earth. And this other lady goes, she was like, flat earth is nuts. She goes, flat earth is nuts, but
she's
can you believe, but she said, but can you believe they tell us everything's made out of atoms? Like, she didn't believe atoms.
I find it hard to
I swear to God.
I find that story highly dubious.
That's what happened.
That.
Swear to God.
That seems like an extremely random thing to say, Jeremy. That I have to question whether that even occurred at all.
It wasn't verbatim, but it was.
He said he had a friend.
Oh, now
it
it's not verbatim.
It wasn't Yeah, it wasn't verbatim exactly what happened, but it was that happened.
Well, we know things are. One second, Chris. We know things are made out of atoms because of things like X-ray crystallography.
Hey, I'm going to come up with an alternative theory to what Jeremy said about the lady. But I have to think about it and make something up really quick. Hold on.
You don't know. You're using the word theory colloquially.
Well, you can see atoms, right? You can see atoms in electron microscopes.
I'm just making the object.
You know that, Jeremy?
Making fun of lemon birds, coming up with an alternative theory.
I have no opinion on atoms.
Well, they make things in your computer that are submicron geometries. They can layer things one atom thick in some cases. And there's so many advancements to the science in physics that you have obviously you don't know about. But you might want to look into it if you think there's a doubt.
I'm not worried about atoms.
What are you worried about? The shape of the Earth? And if you are, why?
Shape of the Earth.
Right, but
What
Jeremy,
do I
you brought
worry
up that
about?
point that this lady said, "Can you believe things are made out of atoms?" As if what? I mean, what was the point in the story?
Like she thought it was nuts that they thought atoms were a thing or something.
Yeah, well,
Like she went off
pictures
on
of
it for
atoms.
like a minute.
Does anybody in your little world, Jeremy, that you interact with, do they have a concept of just in the computer world? Because it's something we all use every day. We all can relate to it. Do you know how many bits of information a terabyte drive would actually contain?
A megabit's what? 1,000 gigabits. Dude, I don't know the numbers. It's in the billions. I don't know. Trillions.
Trillions? Yeah, so trillions of pieces of information on this little disk that's only 3.25 inch in diameter. Doesn't that make you think, like, how do they put all this information, words and pictures and videos, on this little piece of aluminum?
Yeah, I know how they did that. Tech,
you know,
oh, you don't want to hear it? Okay.
Trillions of pieces of information on there.
I know how they did it. Can I tell you?
How?
Technology.
Yeah, but what does the technology do? How does it do that? Do you somehow maybe understand that they might have to get down to the level that they can understand how atoms work and maybe?
Dude, I'm not questioning atoms. I have no problem with atoms. Whatever you say, they're there, whatever. We'll get.
So if we can do that,
we got bigger fish to
how
fry.
The shape of the Earth is.
We got bigger fish to fry than atoms.
You don't think if we can do that, put trillions of
bigger
information on a single platter of aluminum, that you don't think that we can figure out the shape of the Earth? Doesn't it seem like it's
And you guys know that atoms are like what 70, 80, 90% space. So technically, we're all just
Yeah, I've heard about that too. But there's also the Lagrange key, it's a kilogram. That is the official way of what a kilogram is, and they have to replace it because it's losing mass. So they've come up with a prototype one made of silicon, and the way they do it is by calculating the exact number of atoms in this silicon sphere. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
that was all gibberish, wasn't it? Like I wasn't the only one who just couldn't even follow it.
No, I totally followed it, but I've seen the video, but I don't know.
You couldn't follow that? What part did you have trouble with?
It's a hillbilly. He can't follow anything but a truck.
That's not me, dumbass. I'm the one who's able to follow it.
Yeehaw!
Howdy ho! My God, Jeremy is Mr. Hanky. Jeremy is Mr. Hanky. Look at that. Bubbly personality and tough shit.
Yep. Think of Mr. Hanky in a snowstorm. It's about to be the coldest shit you ever seen.
So, Jeremy, can you do you ever fly out to California?
No, I don't fuck with the West Coast. You guys are cool, but shit's too crazy over there.
Hey, you ever fly up north?
Yeah, I flew into deep into Canada on this little rinky-dink puddle jumper plane one time.
Jeremy,
how deep into Canada?
Took us probably 4 or 5 hours to drive. Then there was no roads left, so we had to take a puddle jumper. I don't know the exact miles.
Jeremy would do fine in Canada.
Yeah, but like, where'd you go? Like Manitoba? If you just went straight north, Saskatchewan, like what? Northern Manitoba, northern. Like, where'd you go?
I honestly, I don't even remember. I think it was Ottawa or something, Ontario.
30 or 40 years.
Oh God, that's
No
not
idea.
north. That's not north. Look up Churchill, Manitoba, real quick. I gotta work real quick.
Hold on, let me see where Ottawa is.
There's nothing outside of Ontario or Ottawa. It's all just.
Oh, we went past. My bad. We went way past Ottawa. We were past Quebec. That's what I meant to say, Quebec.
You went to PEI?
I used to drive to Montreal when we were kids to get drunk.
Jeremy, can I ask a quick question about who would you say you've learned more from, this server or Quantum Eraser?
I've learned a lot from QE.
Well, have you learned more from QE than this server, or more from this server than QE?
I mean, I couldn't put it on a scale and weigh it for you and tell which one weighs more.
What have you learned?
Why not?
I've learned things here. I've learned things there.
Right, what have you learned from QE specifically? Give me an example of something.
How to beat a man.
I've learned about the first law of thermo the second law.
Really, you know thermodynamics now.
The scientific method.
You learn the best. You learn from the best, right? Jeremy, tell us the second law. Tell us the second law real quick, just so we can have some dialogue.
Did he tell you how many laws there are at all?
Yeah, what's the second law of thermodynamics, Jeremy?
I want to hear about the second law of thermodynamics. It gets talked about so much, and I want to hear what your take on it is.
I mean, what do you want to hear? You want an example? You want to hear about how, the total energy of an isolated system? Well, like, what do you want me to tell you, Zan?
Yeah,
The thing's fucking. There's a lot into it.
What does the second law mean to you?
To me, it means that high gas pressure. Eventually, the gas will fill the volume.
That's not what the second law
That's
says.
what I gleaned from the second law of thermodynamics. That gas will fill the volume. You've seen the video. You've seen the video from the MIT professor
They
talk about
examples.
Talking about the law of
This is
entropy.
the problem with these examples and these
Jet-
citations.
Jet-
They're taken
Jet-
out of context. They pull out of what they see something as true, an increase in entropy, for example. But that's not the cause of what they're showing. You guys are getting it backward. Quantum Racer especially. He gets every citation up completely backward and upside down.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'll make it easy for you. I've put a very, 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 very simple guide to the 3 laws of thermodynamics. Okay, I've just posted it.
I learned about information from QE, the scientific
Yeah,
method. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Just take a look in the chat. I put the 3 laws of thermodynamics as simply as possible.
Yeah, QE. I mean, QE changed the game for us. He's the reason why you guys are losing.
No, he can't figure out even.
Hey, isn't there actually 4 laws of thermodynamics? The one just isn't numbered.
Yeah, there are 4 laws.
The 0.
Correct. But the one is called zeroth law, right? Which in principle gives a definition of temperature, some sort of definition of temperature.
Oh, so same as the Asimov laws
I'm
of
still
robotics.
speaking. When 2 objects are in equilibrium, they have the same temperature. That is a zeroth law of thermodynamics.
Right. But the second law is the most interesting, Jeremy, because it's the one that's talked about the most, and you already equated it to high pressure moving to low pressure, and that's not what the second law talks about.
Yeah. The law of entropy.
There's no such thing as a law of entropy.
I've heard the MIT professor say people.
No, you haven't.
What's the law of entropy, Jeremy?
There's no
what's
law
the law
of entropy.
Just Janet, hold on. Whether that is or not, just what's the law of entropy, Jeremy?
I heard that schnozzelberries smell like schnozzelberries.
Hold on, I'm asking a question, Jeremy. What's the law of entropy?
The second law is sometimes called law of entropy.
Only affectionate.
Thanks for answering for him. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Jeremy doesn't know that and doesn't care.
Well, obviously, so that's why I asked him.
Hang on. Yeah, that's why you should have kept quiet, man. Don't air your knowledge. It was a question to Jeremy. That's really unfair. You don't need to air your knowledge. We already know it.
Yeah, thank you, man, because that's a problem here, because everyone wants to let everyone know just how much they know and just how smart they are. And that's why you fucking go chasing after all the bollocks that they come out with, and you try and correct them on it or answer their bullshit nonsense questions because you want to show everyone just how smart you are.
Well, no, Jeremy, you talked about high pressure moving to low pressure. The easiest way to respond to that is if there's a pressure gradient in the atmosphere around you, that shows that there's an equilibrium with a gradient. So it's kind of a contradiction in terms. So how can that be if entropy is this law you think means high pressure moves to low pressure? Because right there, we can show it by measuring pressure above your head to the ground that there's a differential pressure and it's not moving anywhere, so it doesn't move. So there's your law broken right now. If that's what the law was, but it's not. So if you want to learn about it, ask some of us, and we can probably explain it to you in simple terms. But if you go to QE,
it's not that it goes. Listen, it's that gas will fill the container. That's what.
So what?
That's what it's basically stating.
What is it? What does that mean that gas fills the container?
What does it mean? What's the volume that Earth is in?
Isn't he getting Boyle's law mixed up with?
You know the word
Boyle's law mixed up.
What does volume mean? What volume is
Boyle's law is the one that says the gas will fill the container?
What does Boyle's law say? Tell me Boyle's law.
I don't know. That guy brought it up.
P1, P2,
I know these gas laws
P1,
are
V2?
definitely not in your favor, though.
They absolutely are, actually. So why do you have the same? Why do you have, Jeremy? Answer this. You have the same exact pressure in Denver, and 2 times of the year the temperature could be 100 degrees difference.
Xana, did you jump ahead again though?
Well, no, I asked him a quick question. How is gas law applied to Denver? Any of the gas laws? Can you answer that, Jeremy? So you don't understand it. That's okay. I mean, they're not the easiest things in the world to understand. If you haven't studied before, it might seem like Greek.
Relax, I'm checking on my kids.
Start throwing terms out like gas law and Boyle's law specifically. You better know what they mean, otherwise don't bring them up.
All right. First of all, I was checking on my kids just now, and second of all,
Jeremy, how do you have a 100-degree temperature difference?
Can I not finish? All right.
You said you were gone, so I'm repeating it. When you say you were doing something with your kid, I mean it means that you probably weren't there listening.
Okay.
So I'm going to explain it again. You're at Denver, 100-degree temperature difference throughout the year, same pressure. How is that possible with Boyle's law?
I don't know. I didn't bring up Boyle's law. Somebody else did.
You did. No, you said it. Gas law doesn't work in your favor.
Some guy brought it up, and then I said, "Oh, is that Boyle's law?"
Can you give that example again?
He said I was mixing up the second law with Boyle's law, so I said, "Oh,
no,
is it Boyle's law that?"
You don't know what any of it means, but I'm being nice.
You're so fallacious.
You can no, I'm not feeling fallacious at all. I'm being very accurate.
Very, very fallacious.
No. So if you have Denver, which 2 times of the year have 100-degree temperature difference, but the same pressure on both days, how is that possible?
Could the pressure have equalized to the other part of the globe, Xanax?
I'm talking about Denver.
I don't care.
Dude, I don't know.
You're trying to put a box around Denver.
How about the fact you can see atmospheric pressure by looking at the flat bottoms of clouds?
Fine, yeah. I don't deny atmospheric pressure. I don't know what this thing got distorted earlier. Chemo talking about temperature. I don't think Jeremy was doing the same thing though.
In Guy Elassic's law, all the gas laws do not
honestly
the globe favor. And I'm trying here to tell him that they don't apply.
It's not necessarily the globe favor, Xanax. It's just the gradient favor. It's just the pressure without a container argument favor. It's not a shape favor.
Don, the gradient thing is a red herring.
Gas law
The gradient thing is a Xanax.
Hold on. Gas law applies to containers and containers alone. They don't apply to the atmosphere. There's no container in the atmosphere. Now, is it contained? Yes, it's contained. How is it contained? Well, the law of atmospheres, another law that you probably aren't familiar with, talks about the hydrostatic pressure created by the weight of the air above you.
Which come from gravity because of the weight.
Well, doesn't weight invoke gravity?
Yes.
So how does air have weight without gravity?
Well, all this is I'm saying this is the pertinent stuff. It has nothing to do with the shape.
Unless the flat Earth is flying upward and accelerating at 9.8 meters per second squared constantly.
No. Xanax, that's not
it
fair.
has to have some type of attraction.
We've all accepted until you get to things like the Sahelian, whatever this. You guys got to keep me right on this experiment. The non-parallel plums next to the mountain or whatever, and the Cavendish experiment. Till you get to shit like that, Xanax, you don't have to strawman the flat Earth and say it's accelerating up. You could just have a downward universal acceleration over the flat plane.
How do you have
Don,
Xanax, where's the force come from? Where's the force come from?
Don, we went through this.
Don't do this.
I'm just asking. It's a simple question. Where does the force come from?
The thing is you're going to start a fight with me when I've had
I know, but I'm just asking you, and I think you can explain it. I know you can explain it. How do things accelerate unless there's a force behind them?
Yeah, I agree there's a force. The origin of the force, until you get to other things, just the apple falling doesn't necessarily have to be mass to mass. Until you get to other mass to mass demonstrations like the Cavendish and this other stuff.
What causes the force? We don't need to know what the cause of the force. We just need to know this. That's all we're saying. We're not getting into the details. We're just saying, you know what? If this thing accelerates, we know because the first, second, and third laws of Newton are valid. They are laws. So if we know things are accelerating, second law, we know things have a force behind them. Now, what that force is caused by, we don't have to get into that. All we have to do is agree that there's a force.
All flat earthers, you guys should understand this thing. There's a law of ordering, whatever you want to call it, but when you keep denying the word of gravity and not specifically saying like it's just gonna make you regress.
Don, the thing is,
guys gotta accept there's a constant.
Don, the thing is, when they say gravity, they're invoking space-time bending.
No, we're not.
No, that is what.
No, we're not.
Despite what Xanax thinks, that is literally what they're grabbing.
I don't care.
Don't jump to that conclusion. That's what I'm saying. You're being unfair to yourself. Don't even jump to that conclusion. Therefore, not letting them get to that.
We're not concluding that. We're not even talking about that. We're staying much more simple. We're staying to the point where we know something accelerates and if force is required. That's all we're saying. We don't know what causes it. We don't have to talk about it. Doesn't matter. So keep it out of the conversation. It's going to make your head hurt. And your scientific method, Jeremy, oh my God, you keep on listening to QE and he gets everything backward. This cause and effect relationship is the problem. He doesn't understand what that even means.
It seems as if mass attracts mass based on experimentation, and at that point we can stop for the moment and not know the cause beyond that.
Exactly.
May I ask Jeremy?
That's fine too.
Jeremy, is the trampoline a mass?
Yes, Lyle. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Is a bowling ball a mass?
Yes.
Okay, if I put a bowling ball on the edge of a trampoline closest to the springs, does a bowling ball, or at some point in time, will the bowling ball be attracted to the center of that mass? Answer the question.
If I put a bowling ball on my trampoline right now, it's just going to sit there wherever I put it. Oh no! Wait, I got it on a hill. It's going to the right side of the thing. Like what exactly?
No, if the trampoline is level,
it would go to the
you
middle.
put a bowling ball, and you put a bowling ball by the springs. Won't it attract to this, or won't it roll to the center of that mass?
Maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I played with the trampoline.
I have a trampoline. I have a trampoline, but not a bowling ball. What else could I use?
Depends how rigid the fucking springs are and the tautness of the material.
Yeah, what's your point, Lale? Seriously, come on.
I'm talking about how mass attracts to the
Well, you don't need to mass to mass. See, they were trying to leave it at there, man. You don't understand. I was leaving it at there too. I could just as easily say, oh, it looks like maybe a density differential without those other couple things. You know, they jumped in Cavendish on. But if I ignored that, right, at one point I could be like, oh, it seems like density is the cause of it, and there's a constant. So we're not going to go down that road right now. They didn't want to do it. Why do you want to do it?
The bowling ball is a mass, and the trampoline is a mass, and when this bowling ball ends up in the center of the trampoline, that's being attracted to the center of that mass. A perfect example. And then if you can roll, you can get stuff to roll around the, like little marbles and basketballs and stuff to roll around the center of that mass, or orbit that mass.
He is right. And that's why I want to dodge a question. So we don't got to talk about this. Yeah, talk about it.
So your trampoline.
Are you truth seekers or flat earthers? Because if flat earthers are different than truth seekers, then that's a cult.
Okay, what did the trampoline prove?
I just told you. If a bowling ball rolls from the outside edge of the trampoline closest to the springs to the center of that mass, that's one example of something with mass being attracted to the center of something else with mass. Now, if you take and place that bowling ball in the center after it's rolled there, you know, and you can get stuff to spin around the bowling ball, and eventually it will end up in the center of that mass because...
Oh wait, you're gonna push the bowling ball?
Okay, you know exactly what he's talking about, and you're dodging again.
Also, his analogy of the trampoline is wrong because the bowling ball isn't really attracted to the canvas of the.
This is ridiculous. I'm trying to get
trampoline. It's actually attracted to the center of the earth. The trampoline canvas is just in between the two. That's all.
I understand that.
Terrible analogy. Chalk it up. Chalk it up for another bad one.
But it's not really attracted to the canvas of the trampoline. So don't use a bad analogy. You know, try to find a better
even your
analogy.
Own people,
Find a much better.
Even your own people, no. Your shit sucks, bro.
No, he's trying to give you an analogy of attraction, how attraction works.
And if you place a bowling ball in the center,
not a good analogy.
He's trying to paint a picture.
Other objects with mass to orbit around the bowling ball.
You have a good analogy.
An example. Yeah, I just said it. Why are you listening?
Even your own people said that's a bad analogy.
Now listen though. Don't get me wrong here. Now wait a minute. His analogy of the smaller balls orbiting around the bowling ball on the surface is a good analogy for space-time bending, but it's not really a good analogy of a mass attracting a mass with just the bowling ball and the trampoline surface.
Well, your current understanding. Hold on a second. Can I say something?
No.
I want to finish what I was saying. I want to agree with what he said, but I will have a caveat in there that the trampoline and the orbiting balls aren't exactly analogous to space-time because space-time is three-dimensional and not one-dimensional.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
What
That's
did you
true.
just say? Space-time is three-dimensional?
Yeah.
Well,
Space is three-dimensional.
It
There's
might actually be four-dimensional, but
Four-dimensional,
that's
yeah.
a whole
Well,
other
okay,
thing. Yeah.
whatever. It's more than one-dimensional. Okay, like a trampoline has one dimension. You just get on the trampoline and you're on the surface of the trampoline. Space-time, or space around the Earth, is three-dimensional because it surrounds the entire Earth. It's not one-dimensional only on one side of the Earth.
Okay, so which?
And as masses travel through that as they call it, the fabric of space-time, it ends up creating the idea of the bowling ball in the center with things orbiting around the bowling ball, except for the fact that the masses are great enough that they do not come to a complete stop like you would have eventually on a trampoline. Because the things keep on traveling, like the sun and the stars and the other masses like planets, traveling through space, bending space-time, and creating that effect of orbiting, one mass orbiting another mass.
So what does this prove?
Well, I accurately described mass attracting mass and the effect that it has
See, this is where, hold on. This is where you're confusing me. This is where I'm getting confused. Are you in?
Let me finish what I'm stating.
I'm already confused, so why go on?
I want to finish what I'm stating.
Go ahead.
Okay, when masses travel through space, such as stars and planets, they attract one another because they are falling towards the center, like the example of the trampoline and the orbiting balls around the center of the mass of the bowling ball. Same thing in space-time. The effect that has on us here on Earth is that we travel from a higher location to a lower elevation, from one elevation to another at 9.8 meters per second squared, which Newton called gravity.
Okay, is that it? Damn, I forgot what I was going to say at first, but I don't. Are you invoking mass attracting mass or space-time bending? Like, I don't understand. It feels like
Mass
you're
attract
mixing them
mass.
up.
Why can't we just stick it with there?
Pretty simple. I said it pretty simple. Mass traveling through three-dimensional space creates a bending of that space area that is
and a new dimension gets created.
No, it's three-dimensional. Okay, so mass traveling through three-dimensional space bends it. And that bend of the space here on Earth has the effect of a downward acceleration towards the center of our Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, which Newton called gravity.
So you're saying that damn, you go on for so long, bro.
That was 30 seconds, Jeremy. That wasn't long. Not like a long diatribe.
You're saying it, okay. You're saying it's 3D space. So you put a ball in nothing, and nothing bends.
Space isn't nothing.
I said as the mass travels through space, it bends it. The effect that has here on Earth is a downward acceleration towards the center of our Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, which Newton called gravity.
It's basically saying gravity is a. Hey, listen.
Yeah,
Newton.
Go ahead.
He's basically saying gravity is a process. It's not an actual object. It's not one object you can touch. It's a process that happens when things that have mass interact with each other, and they actually interact with space itself. That's the process we call gravity.
So you're not saying. So you're saying space. That's what I was trying to tell Don. You're saying space. You say gravity. That means space-time bending.
Gravity is the overarching word that represents a process that's happening.
Do you ever not mean space?
It's not. Space.
Okay.
Gravity. It always is space-time. Yes, space-time bending, gravity. But you can also think of it as a mass attracting a mass. But it's because the space-time's bending. That's what's actually making the masses look like they're attracting each other. It's a process that's happening. It's like you can't take one part of it and get it to work. You can't take the pieces away from each. It's a whole set of things that have to happen to get it to actually function. It's like a baseball game. You can't take the ball out of the game, you know. So you can't take the bending of space-time out of the process. It's very important.
I know, and that's what I was trying to say earlier. That anytime you invoke gravity, or anytime you say the word gravity, you're invoking space-time bending. That was my whole.
Yes. Basically, yes.
I know that.
But it's irrelevant. It's easier for some people just to think of it as two masses attracting each other and forget about the space, because you can't. We as humans can't see the space-time bending. Okay?
We're not
it's not something we see.
But we're not invoking gravity. We're saying that the terminology used to describe the downward acceleration at 9.8 meters per second is what Newton called gravity. We're not invoking gravity.
You got to get Newton out of your head. It's space-time bending from here on out.
Newton didn't understand space-time bending. Newton was describing what he saw. Okay, he gave it a name. Okay, he didn't understand the method of how it worked, but he knew that things fell at a certain rate, so he recorded what that rate was. That's what we know from Newton. Okay.
Yeah, and you're saying now
other people figured out that it was the space-time bending that was actually making the things that Newton was seeing. Newton was still seeing it. Okay,
You're
it's not like he wasn't watching the same thing.
Okay, and you're saying now. Oh, fuck. I forgot what I was going to say.
Now there's no more contention. They've just figured it out. Okay.
Do you see, Don? You said forget you can't say forget about space-time, because anytime they say gravity, they're invoking the space-time bending.
But Jeremy, to be honest, they are willing to have the discussion of just without going there sometimes. Like, I understand that they think that they mean that.
You can think of it either way.
Kind of irrelevant, you know what I mean? Like,
Stick with Newton if you want. It's simpler to understand.
No, we're not sticking with
Newton. And it's accurate.
Listen, you can stick with Newton to argue the point you were on. If you want to argue space-time with him, you're just changing the argument. I mean,
that's because
it's just a different argument.
Listen, Newton is out. He got replaced. He got replaced.
It is not replaced. Come on now.
He's not.
Final nail in the coffin.
The math that Newton created is inside of Einstein's relativity formulas. The math that Newton used is physically inside those formulas.
Einstein didn't throw it away.
A mathematician, you don't see it, but that's all right.
Don, if I said
both are there.
If I said I had a car and I gotten something was wrong with it, and I was like, well, that's the final nail in the coffin for that car. What would you think I was going to do with that car?
But that's the thing. They didn't say nothing was wrong
with
the car. They just added on to it. They went deeper.
All right, I got a good example. I've got a good analogy here, I think. A fire investigator goes to a scene. He finds that the electrical circuit in the house is the cause. He finds that's the center of the fire, and he determines that the electrical circuit was the cause. However, when we look into it further, we find out that the electrical service was intentionally caused to make the fire. So the real cause was that somebody intentionally set that fire using the electrical. Now we go a little bit further. We find out why they did that. They wanted the insurance money. There's always a further down you can go, but it still was an electrical fire. It still happened because of that panel that was there. None of the statements before that were wrong. None of them were lies. But the actual root cause was the guy needed money.
Hey, Jeremy, I feel you on these analogies always being whacked from these Globers, bro.
Why is that wrong? Why is that wrong? Because I mean, basically, that's what we're saying. Newton was right. He got all this shit, essentially right. He made his observations and he made a hypothesis about it. And then somebody said, well, here's the reason that happens.
Einstein himself said Newton's laws could never be superseded. Einstein said that. A quantum eraser doesn't get to come along 100 years later and say Einstein superseded Newton when Einstein himself said he didn't do it.
Jake, your own people even know these analogies are terrible.
What was wrong with the analogy? Please give me an example.
Everyone knows, Jake.
Why it's
Jake said it.
Okay, that's great. I heard Jake say it. Now you tell me why it was wrong, because he didn't answer. So you tell me.
I don't. With the
I think the analogy would be more like, the problem there, though, with the electrical example is that the inner workings of the electrical is still the same, right? It's still, whereas what's happening with Newton is we have a behavior that acts as if certain things are happening, but we know that deep down, we understand from Einstein, more of the inner mechanics of why these things are presenting in the way that they are.
So
I think let me think of a better analogy. Hold on.
Okay. You want to go back to
what about an analogy like a car engine? When we first built car engines, internal combustion, we had a general idea how they work. But today we have so much more information about how an internal combustion engine works. We can do so much more with it. Our initial understanding of it was very limited compared to what we know today.
Flame speed, stoichiometry, pressures, hemispherical.
The thing is,
Jeremy. Hey guys, come on, let's get Jeremy back on the hook. Don't let him off. What are you guys answering those? That was for Jeremy. Keep him on the hook. You also want to air your knowledge. Put Jeremy on the heat. Keep the blowtorch on him.
Boys, get him.
The thing with Newton,
I can't handle anybody questioning it. Go to
the
hell.
The reason why your analogy was bad is because you got the electrical box.
I think a better analogy
Go ahead.
I think a better analogy would be like imagine that you were a baby that didn't know anything about the world, right? And then you learn how to work the faucet. And then you come to the conclusion that, look, the way that faucets work is I turn the knob and then the water runs. And then I close the knob and the water stops, right? Now, the baby doesn't know anything about plumbing, and it doesn't know anything about water reservoirs. It doesn't know about water pressure. It doesn't know about any of that stuff. The baby just knows that you turn the faucet and the water runs. You close the faucet, the water stops, right? Now, that's going to always be true forever. And for all practical purposes, for using that faucet, you don't ever need to know about plumbing and water pressure and water reservoir. You don't need to know about any of that. You just need to know you turn the faucet, the water runs. You close the faucet, the water stops. That's never going to be not true. Never.
If Newton and Einstein are the faucets, they're not even the same faucet. Like Newton's, it's different geometries. It's different
so is the faucet.
Speeds at which it happens.
So is the faucet.
So is the faucet.
Einstein saying that the downward force is not 9.8 meters per second squared. He didn't disagree with that.
Listen, I don't know. You got your own top wig professors, experts in their field talking about.
He didn't disagree with you.
Provide me evidence that Einstein said that the downward acceleration towards Earth is not 9.8 meters per second squared.
I don't know if I have evidence. I didn't make the claim that I did have evidence of that.
He didn't disagree with the effect either. The effect is shit moves to masses move towards each other. End of story.
What if there's bigger masses on the opposite sides of them?
Masses move towards each other.
What do you mean, Matt? Which mass will move towards which mass?
They both move towards. They both move towards
in accordance with the forces.
Yeah, they move towards the center of their masses.
They move proportionally towards each other. The smaller one moves a small amount towards the bigger one. The bigger one moves a bigger amount towards the smaller one.
What if there's masses? What if there's masses hanging above them?
Same thing.
They're moving towards that too. It's just,
you're saying
everything's trying to move towards everything else.
Hold on. If there's 5 masses, there's four masses around one mass.
Explanation did you not understand?
So hold on. Wait about this. There's 5 masses.
Okay. What about this?
Picture
you just stop. You're just being.
Wait. One sec. You got 5 masses. There's a mass in the middle, and they're all the same weight. Okay, they're all the same. and there's a mass in the middle,
Your own
will the
experiment.
mass in the middle not move? Will the mass in the middle not move if they're all the same
Not
weight
as
and,
much.
and distance?
Not as
Maybe
much.
depends on the arrangement of where they're all located at the initial starting position.
Same distance,
There is
weight.
Now listen. There's some sort of center of gravity that can be measured with all of these. Wherever the center of the gravity of the system is, that's where they all move towards. Now,
I'm going to draw it.
If a weight happens to be at that point of center of gravity, then yes, it doesn't really move. Okay, but as each piece of the system moves, each piece reacts to each other piece's movement because the center of gravity keeps shifting as the whole system keeps dynamically changing.
You got any proof of that, or is that just theory?
That's what makes the three-body problem so hard, is because every time anything moves, it changes the system. Then you got to go recalculate the system all over again. It becomes a pain in the ass to do the math. Every single step just makes, 3 more steps you got to do. And if you add another body, it becomes even more math involved. It just becomes a pain in the ass for us as humans to do it.
The three-body problem is hard for you because you got the bodies going faster than the speeding up and slowing down, like the moon around Earth.
LeBron's points are a myth.
Oh okay, it's the only reason they're difficult is because every time you add another body, you just cube the problem, or you square the problem, or you just keep making it worse and worse. It just becomes more hard to do the math. That's all.
We know your Einstein math is tricky.
Is this theory, or is this something you can demonstrate?
They don't have any.
What the fuck do you guys think?
Just look up three-body problem. There's all kinds of documents on three-body problem.
Documents I can read about it, so no demonstration.
Hey,
Rocky, they don't have.
Well, there's people.
You actually have to read
it every day.
What the fuck do you think a theory is?
Immediate to the attack of me not being able to read and all that, so I get your argument sucks, but
you obviously can't read.
Can you demonstrate it?
Every time you go look at a planet orbiting a moon orbiting a planet, let's say the moons of Jupiter, you want to sit there and calculate, where they're going to be, 10 years from now. You have to go through all this math, and the math just becomes very difficult, especially in like a system like Jupiter where there's 98 freaking moons.
Hey, Journey, I'm going to post a picture, okay? Or who's talking? Who was saying that about the moons?
Me. It was
me. Not you. That wasn't you. Who was the other person?
Grenade head.
I'm going to post a picture right now, and you guys can keep talking. Just look at the picture when you can.
So your demonstration is look out at space? Jupiter's moons?
That's a good way. What's wrong with that?
No, I'm just asking, is that your demonstration?
Ricky, how about for the fact that we've sent multiple probes throughout the solar system using complicated gravitational boosts that require very precise orbital mechanics to perform, and yet those probes all photographed and visited those planets. Of course, you're going to say that that's fake, for which you have precisely zero evidence that any of those space missions were fake.
Yeah, I get your point.
He managed to land
You have-
over the comet.
My question still
There's a massive amount of evidence. There's thousands of people that were involved, regular civilians. You can go visit the JPL facility where this stuff was conducted. People that were involved through the entire process, that processed the data. There is no whistleblower. There's absolutely zero evidence that any of it was fake. And you're just going to call it fake because your cult belief makes you have to say that it's fake, even though you have zero evidence that it's fake.
I went to a mall. It was a huge mall in Houston. It had thousands of people in it. And Santa Claus was in the middle of the mall. Almost everyone was telling their kids to believe in that Santa.
Wow, good story, bro. That's so much.
Yeah, y'all stories are more fantastical and better. Y'all
seriously, why is that a bad
at a mall, but people tell stories, right?
Yeah, because that's just like Scott
believe
going
it,
home and saying, "I was in space yesterday." That's the same thing. Yeah.
You don't need to believe it, Rocky.
No, I understand. I didn't need to believe in Santa. Someone just tricked me, right?
You don't need to. That's fine.
Right, exactly. That was my point. My question is, can you demonstrate it where I could believe it? Like, could you show
the
me?
earliest time that I can think of that it was demonstrated was when they found Neptune. The discovery of Neptune was a demonstration of exactly what you're talking about, Rocky.
So when he was talking about the 5 balls and this, that, and the other, and 3 bodies,
about 5 balls, I'm
bodies,
talking about one
you
extra
can't
planet.
demonstrate that on Earth. It's only in
No,
space.
listen, you can do it in space. You can do your 5-body ball thing in space.
Yeah, I've heard you can do it in space.
The
Can
math
you do
isn't
it here?
impossible. The math isn't impossible. It's just difficult. And the math also, we have cheats for it nowadays. We do all kinds of.
I'm not talking about math. You're missing my question, sir. Sorry.
Go ahead.
To cut you off, but you're not- my question is, can you demonstrate, not show me math, not tell me a story, can you demonstrate here on Earth those, what you're talking about?
Neptune.
That all types of masses
Yeah,
attracting all types of
go watch Jupiter's
Earth,
moons. Go watch
Earth,
Jupiter's
not
moons.
space. Earth.
Once again, you guys are trying.
That's from Earth.
Once again, you guys are trying to construct an impossible test. All you're doing, Rocky.
So it's impossible on Earth.
Listen,
is what you
It is impossible when you're in the presence of a
that answers
of a
my
magnetic
question.
of a gravitational field like the field of the Earth. It is extremely difficult to do what you're talking about doing. It's hard to do it with 2 masses. That's the Cavendish experiment. That's just 2 masses.
You're standing on an 8,000 mile across rock. Okay, so it's really hard to get your little experiment with 5 kilograms, to react to anything but the 8,000 mile across rock.
Well,
okay.
Now,
if you take them away from the rock, and put them way out in the middle of nowhere, then you could do your little experiment.
Blue, what do you think? Could you take your Cavendish experiment and add another another torsion balance and show that that other weights would affect the test?
I'm just sitting here thinking about that. Yeah, I think there might be a way that I could do that.
Would your Cavendish work in water, Blue?
Cavendish work in water. I don't know why it wouldn't, Rocky.
Grenade, did you see my picture, Grenade? Did you see my picture of the
the 5 kilogram balls.
So they're 5 kilogram balls, a meter apart from each other. I mean, what's going to move here? What's going to move towards each other?
If they were isolated from the Earth, away from all other masses, they would slowly start to drift towards each other, towards the center of the mass. Now, each ball would be manufactured slightly different from each other. It's almost impossible for you to make 5 identical balls. So wherever the actual center of gravity is of those masses, that would become the center point for their attraction. So
man, what a concept.
Yeah, it is.
That's a crazy. That's a cool concept.
Not really.
It's like a fun concept that you can kind of like think about.
Well, yeah, it is fun to think about, and people who take physics courses in college and high school.
But you're not really applying. You're not really applying mass attracts mass to anything, right?
Say that again. I'm not what?
You're not applying mass attracts mass to anything in your life, are you?
Every time I drop something.
Yep. No, that's not applying. Come on, but you're not using. You're not. That's not applying mass attracting mass though. That's not like the Cavendish.
Well,
every time you come on, you can admit that you would think it's more, just buoyancy and down. You don't have to always think. You can admit that you're not applying mass to mass in this case.
Experimenting with mass attracting mass.
Well, every time you step on the scale, there's certain circumstances
mass in
with
everyday life
that don't work.
But what's the difference? What's the difference of the buoyancy of the ocean? You take the ocean out and put in a solid, and now you have a buoyancy of a solid.
Yeah, there's all kinds of scenarios where the buoyancy thing doesn't work. There's all kinds of ways.
Buoyancy works with solids too. The solid is pressing
How does
up.
buoyancy work with a solid?
Why you want to disrespect
how does
buoyancy? He asked, do you apply mass to mass in your everyday life?
How does a buoyancy work with a solid?
Come on, man. Mass to mass almost implies a magnetic-like phenomenon. All right?
I'm taking all bets that the conversation goes to crap now that Xanax joined.
No, how does it? No, there's no buoyancy with
any
solid.
takers?
There's no buoyancy with solids.
I'm gonna PayPal you $100.
Tell someone to step up and tell me how there's buoyancy.
How does the solid support the mass above it?
No buoyancy with
a
solid.
crystalline structure.
Okay, so
How
it's
does
just
buoyancy
it's
work
just
with a solid?
it's a
Anybody
solid.
who brought that up, please come
Hold
forward.
on a second. There's a solid buoyancy, a
Admit
liquid
you
buoyancy.
don't.
There's a shut the fuck up, Xanac, for 2 seconds. God, you're an
No,
annoying twit.
I asked a simple
Shut
question.
up for 1
You brought it
second,
up.
young
Stiggy.
man. Shut your goddamn
Buoyancy
mouth. for
doesn't
1
work
second.
with solids.
To add to the discussion, Stiggy. So why don't you shut
Okay, so there's solid buoyancy, there's
Stiggy.
liquid buoyancy, and there's
Stiggy.
gas
There's
buoyancy.
no solid buoyancy.
Stiggy, you're just
Yeah,
talking
solid buoyancy is just pretty much a
Stiggy,
solid holding up the object
No,
above
it's
it.
not what it means.
Yeah,
It'd be a fall of rest.
that's what.
No, it only works
called
in
a
a
Fall of rest,
liquid.
but it's still being supported
you out
by,
of your
by a
goddamn
hard
mind,
solid
Stiggy?
buoyancy.
The,
think I'm
the
supposed
solid.
to be
Do
quiet?
you know what buoyancy is? Steve, why don't you tell us what
Shut
buoyancy is
the
real
fuck
quick?
up.
Hey, Zanik, tell Curb to
Excuse me,
log
hang
off
on,
and go take a walk.
hang on. Do you guys realize
Have
the
any of you
utility?
flat earthers
You-
taken
you-
the gravity
no, you-
out of the
hey,
buoyancy
hey,
formula?
lads, you're speaking to cunts who can't even tell you where the sun goes at night.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
It goes down
And you're
into the
trying to
ground.
discuss gravity with these morons?
It goes to the next part of land.
There's
It's
no
just going over to
solid
that land. It's
buoyancy.
just going over to the other
You made
land.
assertions. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
None.
there's a solid.
buoyancy
liquid,
Tell me,
and
tell me,
gas.
about, tell me how solid
gravity
buoyancy
is
works.
in the
Give me an
formula.
example. Hold on. It's a fair question. Just slow down. I'm not going to argue with you. Just, hey, you said it. Please give us an example of
Okay,
solid
so
buoyancy.
okay, solid buoyancy. You take a block of ice, right, and you place something on the solid buoyancy. Well, if the block of ice melts, it's turning into liquid buoyancy. You know what I
It's
mean?
called a fall of rest, Stiggy. It's a fall of rest. If you were to
Sure,
drive
I know.
something on the
I'm
ice
just
Wait,
giving
once,
him a hard
understand
time.
what you're saying. I placed an object on top of the ice. It could be any object. You're saying that's solid buoyancy?
Well, there's a solid mass pressing up to hold the mass above it.
Okay, so it's producing a. So it's like you sitting in a chair. That equilibrium of forces is called buoyancy.
Well, I mean, you could say it's solid buoyancy, like there's a solid holding you up.
You mean the
Just
normal
like
force?
just like
Right.
helium
not
balloons
buoyancy.
are held up, just like held up by gas buoyancy.
No, but buoyancy. See, buoyancy by definition is the amount of force upward equal to the amount of that medium you've displaced. You have to displace something, otherwise there's no buoyancy.
I think Stiggy's trying to say, Xanac, pretend my ceiling is your floor, right? We live in an apartment building, and I'm underneath you. I let a balloon go, and you drop a spoon. That floor in between us would be like solid buoyancy.
No.
Yeah,
See, this,
Is
again,
that what you're saying?
No, listen to me. Listen to me.
Exactly.
Real carefully. When you have an object and it doesn't displace any of the medium or object below it, like the solid, then there's no buoyant force.
But what do you mean it doesn't display? You don't think there's
It
any
has
sort
to
of?
displace it.
It does in a way, though.
No, it doesn't. It's sitting on top of it.
What do you
It's
mean?
not
You can't just
displacing it.
put a mass on a mass and
I
there's
don't
no
know.
The normal force of you sitting on a chair and a chair pushing back on your butt.
there's
That is
compression.
not buoyancy.
There's
That is
compression
just
of the
balance
solid.
forces.
There is the compression of the
No,
solid.
there's
when
no
it-
compression.
No.
Yes, there
No,
is.
you're making things
you
up.
put-
You're making things up.
If you put a force on, if you put a mass on another mass, there's going to be a force that's pressing down on it, and it's going to be a
Yes,
compression.
balance
So
of
you know what I
force.
mean?
We all agree that's not buoyancy.
No, I know it's not what you're thinking, but it's like solid objects hold up other objects, just like liquid objects
you
can
got-
do the same
you
thing,
have to
and
display
gaseous
for it.
objects.
Mon.
So,
You absolute mon.
oh God, unbelievable.
Yeah, I
So-
know. I know it doesn't
So
displace
you're in a
it
boat.
like
Let's say you're in a
liquid.
boat.
It doesn't
Let's
displace
say-
it like
let's say you're in a
liquid
boat.
or gas.
Hold on. You're in a boat and you displaced X amount of water equal to the volume. The amount of water that's displaced has a weight, and that's the buoyancy force acting up on the object. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure, but if you do the same
Hold
thing
on.
in
Let me-
soil,
I'm
if
gonna
you do
give
the
you a
same thing in
scenario.
what
You're
is soil?
you're
then?
hold
What is
on.
soil?
Just stop, please.
Everyone else.
So you got the boat in the water. It's
You're
displaced.
on your own, dude. You're talking to yourself.
Some half of this boat has been displaced by water. That's the buoyancy force acting upward. Now suddenly this boat runs aground on the shore. Now is the buoyancy force that it was in the water equal to the buoyancy force that this land is acting up on the boat with?
Well,
All
so
right.
that's where it's,
Jem, are you here?
this is
You
where
know what I'm
it's
saying?
tricky. This is where
You're
it's
on
tricky.
the
is
water. You have a buoyancy force of half the weight of this
I
boat.
need
Let's
Xanax
say
lecture
let's say
where
it's a ton.
Xanax can go and lecture, and
Hold on. If you
so
if you
students can
if
go
you
there.
if you can
and
if
be
you can take a
subjected to
boat
a
and place it
meaningless
on
lecture.
soil doesn't that displace the soil underneath?
No.
What do you mean? Where does the soil go? The
You have
soil
a
goes
force acting
down.
up on it equal to the weight. See,
soil
the weight equal. Listen, there's nothing been displaced. So there's no buoyancy force. It has weight, and the force is acting from the soil. And there's your balance of forces. When you're in a medium, you have a force acting up on it equal to the weight of the medium that has been displaced. Does that make sense to you?
No, I understand that.
I don't think you do. You keep on talking about buoyancy and being on a
something
solid.
in the
There's no
soil,
buoyancy on a solid.
if you place a mass in the soil,
You're making things up.
in the
It's
soil,
really annoying.
if you place a mass in the soil will be displaced. Curved, you're not relevant. Curved, you're not relevant.
Oh, your entire
soil.
conversation is
If
not
you place
relevant.
mass in the soil will be displaced.
There's another point about
Do you have a
buoyancy you're
blanket?
forgetting. The
Kurt,
other
put a
point you're
blanket over
forgetting
your
about
head.
buoyancy is, let's say I had a battleship, and a battleship weighs, thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds. If I took all that steel and I just had it as, loose pieces but bolted together, and I just laid them on the water, they just sink. Buoyancy, part of the buoyancy problem is the shape of that weight. What shape the ship is, because if the pieces were in some other shape, they wouldn't float.
That's the buoyancy problem, and you're completely wrong. That's why I had the ship go aground, so we can look at what buoyant forces are there versus when it's in the water, and they're completely different. There's none.
So what's
on
the
land,
difference?
and
What's the
water.
difference? What's the
It only
difference?
applies
What's
to
the
the stop.
Zenit,
Stiggy, you're being ridiculous. You're just trying to argue to argue. There's no buoyancy if there's no medium displaced. Period. Okay,
just let me explain, Zanik. Okay, if you put something in soil, what happens to the soil?
There's no buoyancy in the soil.
But hold on a second. What do you mean there's no buoyancy?
There's no buoyancy inside soil. No.
I'm just saying. Why does the soil get indented?
You've compressed it. You've used a force, and you
compressed
soil pieces together. There's no buoyant force. It's not a spring.
Does the soil that was on top get displaced?
No, it doesn't act up on it at all.
Where does it go then?
You're digging yourself a hole, Stiggy.
Wait a minute.
You're being really stupid right now.
The
soil
gets compressed
upward.
The soil gets compressed.
Equal
and the soil
to the
is
amount
pushing.
that has been displaced.
And we have a winner. Everybody pay up. That's 10 rumpuses, and he called him stupid. Pay up, suckers.
Hey, I told
Zanik
you.
run the conversation.
I told you. Don't take sucker bets, Rakia.
Zanik comes in here like an auctioneer. He just like
No, you come in here like a moron, saying things that don't make any sense. There's no such thing as buoyancy on solid objects.
I'm saying.
Who had moron? Pay up. Double or nothing on moron.
It is a thing, Zanik. You have another name for it. It's not called solid buoyancy. It's called the normal force or something.
Yeah, I know what real buoyancy is. I'm just saying there's some sort, like, what's the difference of you replacing the liquid and there's a force still holding up? There's a medium holding up something. If it's a solid, if it's a liquid, does that make sense? There's still a force holding it up.
Okay, gotcha. Now, what's your point?
Well, yeah, I used the wrong words, and then.
Well, words matter. I mean, I can't go off.
Tasmanian deviled all over.
All I have is your words, all right? And your words were wrong, and I'm trying to help you with that.
You said you Tasmanian deviled all over me.
Yeah, don't do that.
So you have a buoyant
force. I don't want a wet Tasmanian devil shaking his sweaty, liquids all over me like you're doing. If we'd have a microphone, I would have to be wiping my face off. If you're face to face, you'd be spitting all over me.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, I can tell you have salivation. It sounds like you have rabies. It sounds like you were bit by a rabid.
There's zero salivation. All I'm doing is trying to help you understand that there's no such thing as solid buoyancy, and you can't get it.
No, I know what buoyancy is. I'm just saying it's a different word. It's just like, okay, there's a force. There's a force.
Different word.
I know what buoyancy is.
Seriously.
I know why
the normal
rise.
I know why balloons rise. My God, come on.
Yeah, balloons rise because the medium below pushes it up. We know why balloons move. We know why balloons move.
Why do they move?
Okay, it's the medium below pushing it up.
There we go. Good. So you do understand buoyancy.
All right, just a service notification. We will be seeing. We're all supposed to be looking at the ISS tonight. For me, it got 2104. I recommend if you want to be cool about it, look at a diopter.
Is that Eastern?
Sorry, what
Yeah,
time
it's
did you
Eastern
say?
time. 21:01
Eastern,
for me. Probably about a couple minutes later, it's moving 17,000 miles an hour. And what I would suggest is that you go for the highest point in the sky, and that will tell you the distance between us, or the time it took to travel between us. Because I know that's at the highest point using diopter.
What do I got to search on the App Store for? ISS tracker?
You can do that, or what I went into is Heavens Above. I put in my my location, heavensabove.com. And
just download the ISS app from the fucking Play Store or the iTunes Store.
I got it.
Hey, Moyak.
Which one, Jake? Jake, there's like 4 of them.
If I'm inside Walmart,
I use ISS Detector. I think it's the best one.
if I'm inside Walmart, will I be able to see the ISS?
Probably. It's
The
gonna be really
ISS
close
spotter. The ISS spotter has more reviews and better reviews and shit.
Whatever, dude.
Well, whatever. I use ISS Detector. I bought it back in the day, and it's always worked well for me. So.
Here, what town are you in? I can tell you what time it will be.
Let Jeremy make Jeremy do it. He
I'll do
needs to have this available to him.
I'm getting the ones with the better reviews.
Did y'all hear about the reality show they want to film? They're going to send a contestant into space. It's a reality show.
I heard that.
Holy.
Yeah, maybe Rakia should go on that show and him win.
Did you guys see NASA's announcement last night?
What?
The all-women crew to Mars because they're afraid sex and pregnancy might be an issue.
Any of them black?
I didn't read that far into it. It popped up on my news feed.
You said it's all women?
Yeah, because they're
all
afraid
women.
They're afraid of pregnancy and sex in space.
Oh my God!
Wait.
Just snip them. Snip the men. Give them
just snip them in.
vasectomies.
Where are we sending the women to? Mars, you said?
Yeah, that was NASA's announcement.
Yeah, they're
trying to be woke.
Inshore or whatever the fuck it is.
You're going to want to populate Mars at some point. You're going to want to send.
They're going to send the men to Venus, right? They're sending the men to Venus.
And they're going to send a suitcase with a variety of female pleasure devices to make up for it.
Hey, Jim, do you have a subscription to the Times? I can't hear you, Jim, if you're talking.
Why is Jim going to respond to you?
Well, no one ever talks to you. Jim's not going to come out of hiding.
It's not that. He just randomly addresses people that just aren't there. Like, a conversation will be happening, and he'd be like, yo, Bob, how was the other? Like, what the fuck, dude?
Okay, it'll be 2105.
They're building
a nice high orbit for you.
They're building a commercial airlock on the ISS.
You know what 2105 is, Jeremy?
Hey, why do they when they talk about buoyancy, why they never talk about the shape of like the ship or something? Because ships weigh tons, and the shape is an important part of it. As also in the formula for buoyancy, gravity is built into the damn thing. So you have to remove gravity from it.
Really,
so the flat earthers are pleased, and then just to please them, their sensibilities. So take gravity out of the formula, and then how does it work?
Well, same with solid buoyancy. If you put a soil, like you have a ship in soil, and then you put a pipe in the soil, the pipe's pressure will go in farther than the boat.
Well, I agree.
Stop at the solid buoyancy.
I agree with Grenade Head. I agree with Grenade Head. Don't aircraft carriers have a lot more mass than a human? Shouldn't it sink instead of be able to float?
No.
Bad, Lil. Bad.
So I'll do it again. I'll do it again just for you because you don't listen. If it displaces more than it weighs, it floats. It's called equilibrium. It goes below the waterline. Okay? That's all. It's not complex. It's more than it weighs. Okay? End of story.
But what if the steel of the ship is more dense than water? So why does it float?
Density and buoyancy.
Because it's displaced below the water line.
But what if it floats initially, but it has a leak?
It does the weight of the water you displace greater than its weight. It will what?
Hey, wait a minute. What is its weight? Its weight is something to do with gravity, isn't it?
Right.
Wait, isn't it just a change? Isn't just the medium changing?
No.
What do you mean? How's
It's
the medium
weight.
not changing when it sinks?
It has nothing to do with the medium.
The medium of the equilibrium.
So if it's all about
Weight has nothing to
buoyancy
do with the medium.
and density, why is weight in the equation? Why is gravity in the equation?
Mass times gravity. That is weight.
I know, but they're talking that the reason things go up or down has to do with density and buoyancy, not weight.
And we can show this with objects falling contained in a box. They can have different masses, shapes, sizes, and they all fall at the same rate.
What if all the people on the ship pee at the same time? This is a question for Stiggy. Now, if all the people on the ships pee at the same time while water's coming in at the same rate the water's coming in.
I think Rupert Cow's question is better. If a boat filled with ice melted, would it sink?
Irrelevant whether it's ice or water.
Would you guys get in a cement boat? You know, they used to make boats out of cement.
They made it out of water.
It depends.
Water and newspaper.
Is it true you can't have liquid buoyancy without a container?
Liquid buoyancy.
Can you have liquid buoyancy without a container?
Can you have solid buoyancy without a container?
Just define a container for us. Would you please?
Wait, because all these examples that you're talking about buoyancy, I'm just thinking, okay, an ocean, that's a container. The lake, that's a container.
Wait, does the ocean have a container? What's the ocean's container?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Are you talking about the bottom and the side?
You're kidding, right? You're joking.
No, is it open container?
Oh my God.
Container for us.
Dude.
Find a container for us. An opener close to
Where's the top of the container?
The ocean a container.
Just define the
top
container
of the container for the ocean.
Wow.
What's the top
Just
of the container
define the
for the
container
ocean?
for us.
Is a bowl a container?
I guess the question is, if you look at the ocean, every body.
You're purposefully being.
No. Stiggy.
Every body.
Very honest question.
I don't think the ocean is a container. Actually,
every body in the ocean is surrounded by water. How is that a container?
If you guys don't think the oceans are contained,
how are they contained?
Have you been to the oceans? Have you seen any of the oceans?
I'm gonna be proactive.
Is the street outside your door? Is that a container? The street.
Is there liquid? I'm talking about liquid buoyancy here.
There's fluid outside.
Tell me how much. Give me an example of liquid buoyancy. Give me an example of liquid buoyancy without a container.
Outside your door. Go let a balloon go. There's liquid buoyancy.
No, I'm talking about real thick liquid here. I'm not talking about gas.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
No, I'm talking about liquid boat buoyancy.
Perfect. Hey, Stiggy. Is the ocean a open or closed system? If you answer that question, I can answer your question.
I would say it's open. You can
think
leave it.
It's an open system?
You can leave the system, right?
I don't know. All the continents are surrounded by oceans, so can we leave it?
Wait, what do you mean the continents are surrounded? What are the continents doing? Are those creating a barrier?
No. They're surrounded by water.
No.
How could they? They're surrounded by water.
Oh my God. So the ocean floor is then the floors above it.
I don't know, man. Explain to me how it is. They're surrounded. All the continents, like if you took a
why aren't there continents in between continents? Why aren't there continents in between continents? Because they're bare. It's because they're below the ocean.
Dimwit.
Because there's
if you took
bowls of water between each continent.
Just a good example. What's that?
There's bowls of water between the continents.
There's no.
Hold on. I have a good one for you. What if all the water raised 10,000 feet?
Well, on which one, the Atlantic or the Pacific? Because one of them's higher than the other. I think the The Pacific
10,000
is 17
feet. What would be
centimeters
the
higher than
container? What would be the? Hold on. What would be the container if all the oceans rose 30,000 feet? Where's the container?
Well, it would probably overlap onto the lands above it.
Of course it would. All the land would be underneath the water, right?
Yeah, because
so where's the container? Where's the container?
The,
If all the oceans rose 30,000
the container would be the highest elevated points on where the land
there'd be no land seen.
Islands or
There'd be no
then it would
land
overflow the bowl. And
Listen to me. Listen to me. There'd be no land seen anywhere. It'd be only water. Where's the container?
That's impossible. You have to have a container to have water.
Come on.
It happened with.
Come on.
What are you talking
Brain
about?
dead. Brain dead.
What are you talking about saying, oh, if you overfill this bowl, where's the water going to, like...
The highest mountain on Earth was covered by water.
A container can only hold so much water, right? So there's a limit to what the water can hold.
There's no limit.
And just stay at that level.
So that's why I asked you to define. So this is why, remember, words matter.
There's no limit to a
buoyancy. You got one
container of
wrong already.
water?
Here's strike 2. What is a container?
Wait a minute. He just said there's no limit to a container of water.
Give us your definition of a container.
Wait, I need to see your.
No, not wait.
Again. Did you say
Give
there's
us your definition?
Did you say there's no limit? Did you say there's no limit to a container of water?
I didn't say that. You said that.
You did say that. You second line bug.
No,
you did. You're a bugger.
You're
a bugger, dude.
If you have a closed container, there's a limit to its volume. If it's an open container, there's no limit.
To the container, there is.
There's no limit.
Ziggy, hold on, Ziggy.
Okay, so fill up your bowl of water.
I'm not talking about a bowl of water.
Keep filling your bowl of water. Just keep filling. We're not talking
keep
about.
Keep on adding water. It keeps on getting larger.
You can't do that. You're talking about concepts
again. It's contained by its weight. The surface.
Zanuck, you live in concepts. Your whole life is a concept, Zanuck.
You're a concept.
You just come up with imaginations and you build foundations off imaginations. You have a concept reality. That's all you're good for. You just build it.
Well, if you fill up the water on Earth all
buoyancy.
the way up to the top of Everest,
you're a fucking concept whore. That's all
you
do. You just bring concept.
At one point, all the land was underwater.
Feel my deep concept inside you. It's like, get rid of it.
What if we added another bowl to the scenario? What if we added another bowl?
If we put a bowl inside a hallway, it's going to roll to the center.
Stiggy, if the ocean is an open system, how would the second law affect that open system?
But we're talking about buoyancy. Let's just keep it as buoyancy with water and liquid.
Now we're talking about buoyancy, which is
we were
always
talking about
mass
buoyancy.
that has been displaced. The force
Yeah,
created
you
on
can't try doing that without a container. I bet Archimedes couldn't have done that without his bathtub.
Yes, you can. You could easily do it without a bathtub.
How would Archimedes figure out his principle without a bathtub?
You could do it in air, knucklehead.
No, he wouldn't have figured out
All
in
you
air.
need is a medium. All you need is a medium. You don't need a bathtub.
How would he have figured out liquid displacement without a bathtub?
Fluid displacement. Medium.
How would he figure out fluid displacement without a bathtub?
Balloon.
How would he
balloon
how would he figure out
a regular balloon and a helium balloon? I'm just telling you, you're not listening.
You can't see the liquid displaced like that.
Yes, you can. What's wrong with you? Seriously,
you can wait a minute, Zanuck. You can see helium being displaced as the balloon goes. You can see air being displaced physically, like water in a bathtub.
Yeah, color it. You can put smoke in the air.
Oh my god! Oh god, he's a concept whore.
No,
concept.
You can do it. You don't need to see it. You can measure it. You can measure it.
You're a goof.
Buoyancy
you're
is
a goofball.
You're
a goofball,
created by the amount of any fluid displaced.
Yeah,
any fluid, liquid or gas.
I'm sure Archimedes had a.
Do you not understand?
I'm sure Archimedes had helium balloons.
Medium.
Archimedes
What is
could
a
have done it with a medium. Archimedes could have done it with a helium balloon.
You can't even spell Archimedes.
What a fucking
you don't even know what
idiot.
you're talking about.
Archimedes could have figured this out with a helium balloon when they weren't invented yet. He could have easily done it. In concept world of Zanuck, anything's possible.
Yeah, what if we added another ball?
Let's make Archimedes have chocolate fudge ice cream.
Why don't we see them pee on the ISS? That'd be a really cool video.
God, it's like, oh, I have another concept for you.
By the way, that was one of yours, Stevens.
Guys, you're being a bunch of dicks.
I know Zanuck is so
No,
full of
Steve,
himself.
you're being a dick. Stop it. You're just being
No,
an
you're
idiot.
full of yourself, dude.
No, you're being an idiot. You're being a complete and utter idiot.
No,
You
you're
don't
saying
understand
Archimedes
you think
could
there's
have
such a thing
figured his
called
principle
solid.
out
You
with
think
a
there's such a
helium
thing called
balloon.
solid buoyancy. Then you talk about
What
a
a
chip
turd.
in soil and add a pipe to it. I mean, dude, you're a complete
Yeah,
whack
it's
job.
easy.
Seriously.
I'm not the one who's flustered here and
I'm not flustered
lashing
at
out
all.
at me irrationally.
Is this the sign
You have
of
an irrational emotion. You have an
Zanuck,
irrational
did you not just
emotion
hear
towards
me?
this.
You guys are being dicks. Stop.
Yeah, Zanuck. I'm just saying Archimedes couldn't have figured this out with a helium balloon because they weren't around.
Ooh, wow.
He's like, no, he could have done it without a bathtub. He could have done it with the. He could have done it with a balloon.
Who gives a
Yeah.
shit whether Archimedes can do it? We can do it today, punk.
Yeah, you need containers for your liquid buoyancy to work.
No, you don't.
For your... Yes, you do.
No, you
need that.
don't. You just need a balloon.
How is it
You
contained?
could build an experiment that was an open system to do this. You just have to be more clever. That's all.
I know. Get it. Give us another concept.
A balloon. You can do
Yeah.
Archimedes works just perfectly well with a balloon.
Okay, so if Archimedes' principle works mostly in containers, then what does that say for the balloon?
You don't need a container.
Containers make it
talking?
easier, but it doesn't. It's not necessary.
How is the pressure of the medium being able to force itself upon the mass above it?
The pressure of the medium? Please describe what the pressure of the medium is.
Well, the pressure of the medium, right? So the pressure pushing upwards, the pushing
The
upwards
force?
because of the container that's on the sides,
No,
like
there's
in
no
the ocean.
container. We already agree there's no container.
You mean the container that the ocean has? That's why we have pressure, is because
No,
it
you
has to
have
push on the container.
you have displaced a medium which has weight.
Sure.
That medium has weight. You can weigh the air around you.
Okay, but the ocean contains.
Hold on. If you
the
displace
ocean
that air,
is
that
a
is a
container
buoyant
for
force
water.
acting upward. It'll make the object lighter.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to stop it here. Stiggy, you do realize that our model is a globe and there is no container for the water?
How do you have water pressure? How do you have
Because
pressure?
water has weight.
Okay, so put water in an aquarium. Do you have water pressure?
Yep.
Have you seen a
So
water
take
tower?
Okay, take
you ever seen a water
take the
tower?
aquarium. Take
just uses
take the
the weight of the
aquarium.
water.
Take the walls out. Excuse me.
Every time
Take
you open
walls
the
off.
faucet,
Do you still have the
every
same
time
pressure?
you open the faucet
Do you
to your
still-
house.
Excuse me. Do you still have the same
Excuse
pressure with the walls off of the aquarium? Is there still the same pressure?
For a moment.
You take the wall. Yeah, see, you guys are so dumb. It's so stupid. Ugh, just concepts, vagueness.
So,
Ziggy, what are you even asking? You're asking if the aquarium walls aren't there. If there's no walls to hold it, there's no pressure, right?
Yeah, he's saying for a moment there is. Just
No, there will be for a moment.
Yeah, you got to hold on to that glimpse, that moment of pressure, and it's you need the container.
Now,
Every
we
time
have
you
a
open
container.
your
It's called a
faucet-
globe, and the globe has gravity. Gravity pulls the water down to the surface equally in all directions, which makes the water its own container.
Yeah,
There you
until
go.
you scale it down to any other experiment.
No,
you need a
no.
container.
Until
But
if you can stimulate gravity, sure, we can do it.
As soon as you get to that size of Earth, then you don't need those walls.
No, you can do it on the moon too if you want.
You see, exactly, another concept. Thank you again, concept horrors.
Meteors. Actually, there's a couple of asteroids can probably do it also.
Yep,
There's,
another one.
One of the asteroids we've orbited at 13 centimeters per minute, I believe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was a nice orbit around that. So water would stick to that technically if you could get an atmosphere around it. Well, temporarily, it would boil quickly. It would form a water sphere around it.
Man, what was it for you guys? Like, what was it that started off?
What
the
broke your
program?
brain?
No,
What made you
What
go
was it?
against what
Was it like
everybody
was it a
knows?
science?
He doesn't
Was it a
understand
science
normal
fiction
physics
movie?
things.
Was it a book? What was it that like got you so hooked onto space? Do you guys remember? Like what made?
I'm not really hooked on space. I'm kind of down to it.
Star Wars.
No, yeah, it's probably Star Wars.
Star
Either Star Wars,
Wars,
Star
100%.
Trek. Yeah, most of these guys they get hooked onto a science fiction novel or movie.
Yeah,
first,
I got off
and
of
then-
Star
and-
Trek or space when the space shuttle didn't actually fly around in space. That kind of pissed me off.
Well, of course
dad
not.
looked
like it was gonna be a
It's not.
fucking
It's not what you think it is.
My dad was a plumber,
Yeah.
and he showed me a lot of things about physics because plumbers are nothing but physics. That's all it is, physics.
Yeah, it makes sense on Earth. Plumber on.
You know, when you
how are
open
they
the
gonna-
water valve at your house,
I'm
when you
sure they
open the
all know
faucet-
plumbing on the ISS too.
Yeah, when you open the faucet at your house, there's not a pump pushing the water at you. That's just gravity. Okay? That's all that's pushing the water out your faucet is gravity.
Wait, how does the water get up?
Yes, a pump got it up, but it sits up in the tank,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
just gravity has it fall back down. That's all it is.
What do you mean
Because
gravity?
the reason they use that
when you say
method,
gravity,
the
when you say
reason
gravity,
they
can
use
you
that
just-
method
can
is
you
because they
just
don't
say-
know when
hold on,
you're
can
going
you
to
just
open the
say-
valve.
Stop saying gravity. Just say say when you open that valve, mass attracts mass, and that mass is being pulled by that mass. Say mass attracts mass.
Sure. You want to say it that way? That's fine.
Don't say. Stop saying
I
gravity.
could
Just say mass attracts mass.
That's fine. You want to say that? That's fine. I'm going to call it gravity.
We'll just be more
I
comfortable
could even go with
with
the
it.
distortion
Just
of space-time.
Start
That
saying
isn't
it
a
out
problem.
loud more. No, just start saying it out loud more. Replace gravity for mass attracts mass, and see how many people you start getting eyebrows crinkled, because they don't know what that means. And when you
Actually, I
start
think
saying it
most
to
people
normal
would know.
when you start telling normal people that think about this that aren't programmed, it's going to be so hard for you guys.
The average
to tell
person
people that
didn't pay
mass
much
attracts
attention
mass.
in science class, and that's the only advantage you have, is that people who don't pay attention in science class are your followers. That's it.
People that
You
are
just-
programmed in science class, in space
No,
science
the people
class.
who-
No one gives a
people who just
shit
didn't
about
pay
space
attention.
science class
That's
in high
why.
school.
That's the only followers you have are people who
Why
just
am
didn't
I going to pay
attention.
attention about how many moons Jupiter has? I don't care about, like, I don't consider myself a moron if I don't know how many Junes Jupiter has. Like, you guys think, oh, you don't know that there's an asteroid belt and that all started from this thing and then this. You didn't
It's
know.
not necessary to know
You
that,
don't-
but it would be nice to know some simple science things so that you can get through the day without
That's
killing
not simple
yourself.
science. That's just programming facts into you. That's not science. That's not just telling you a factoid. That's consider that
Well,
science.
if you understand about there being moons around Jupiter or any planet, then you could learn about other things too, and you're not so baffled by how the universe fucking works.
No,
That's-
I'm more interested on Earth stuff. Like, I don't care about space balls.
Well, it would be nice.
That's
You can use all that
it's
information
billions
too.
of dollars of waste. You guys just wasted all our money.
Yeah, wasted on MRI machines and shit that keep you
No,
alive.
that's cool. That's cool. But you guys didn't even
And
go to
that's
Mars to get an
all
MRI
based off the
machine.
same stuff. It's all
You
based
did,
off
okay,
the same
what
stuff.
what did going to Mars? What did that get us on Earth? Did that get us an MRI machine?
Hey,
Actually, the
Grenade,
MRI
can I
machine.
don't go along this line, please, Grenade. Don't go along this
So
line.
dumb. Like,
Sticky,
I know that argument. All the inventions NASA gave us. Yeah, you could have done that without spending money on
Hey,
space.
Sticky, can you listen? Sticky, can you listen?
Hey,
Can you
control your
listen?
tone.
That's my
Control your
first-
tone, and I will. Don't talk to me like a younger
Can you
brother.
listen? Okay. Bob Nodell and Jism prove curvature and rotation.
Don't call him Jism. Don't call him Jism.
Jism.
Juranism. Juranism and Bob
Jism is
Nodell
right.
prove curvature and rotation. Your turn. Explain.
Did he do it on the equator? Did he do it at the poles?
No. They proved it was a ring
fuck
laser
you,
gyro.
fuck your
and he-
experiment. No,
If you want to
fuck it all.
expand the experiment, that's fine. The experiment's
I
fine
want
as
it on
is.
a real experiment is you do it on the equator, do it on the poles, do it at every latitude, see if it.
That's what
works
you
out.
do. That's no. That see,
I don't have a
experiment is
I
all-
don't have
the
a
experiment-
I don't have a ring
the
laser
ex-
gyroscope.
God damn it. The experiment only has to go as far as the experimenter wants to go. You can take it further if you like.
Well, you guys believe it through one experiment. You're like, that's it. Well,
No,
Nodell's a
hundreds of
genius.
experiments. Hundreds.
There's not
thousands.
hundreds of experiments of gyroscopic ring lasers going to
Yeah,
both
there actually
latitudes.
is. Every airplane in the world.
There's
has
actually
one on
not.
there.
That's why your voice
No,
went up. That's why
actually
your
there
voice
is.
went
You've got a
up.
Every
cell
Liar.
phone. You've
airplane
got a
has one.
gyroscope.
Yeah,
All you have to do is
you're
read
a
it.
a liar,
gyroscope.
and you've been a liar for the past 6 years, and that's all.
Yeah, I'm not a liar. I'm
Dude.
Sticky. I talk
You
about
guys
stupid
all
stuff.
have lying
I'm a
voices.
fucking retard.
All
I
your
say
voices
retarded
have
things
lying
for fun
tones.
because it's my experiment.
It's not retarded. It's just
You said
any
this a long time ago.
Any
You said that this
mentalist,
was
any mentalist who studies voice, vocal recognition patterns
Hey.
can understand that you guys have all voice tones that are
You remember that you
lying,
told us all that this was
patterns with
social
everybody who's
experiment?
lying.
Yeah, and Stiggy, do you remember when you told us this is just a social experiment for you?
Still is.
Ah, so you're just a lying sack of shit.
No, that's why I can tell when you go up like that, and a lot like Scott does it. Fuck, what's his name? You guys all have these lying inflections, a lot. You guys lie a lot.
Wow. So your social experiment where you're pretending to be a flat earther and say the stupidest things possible is your social experiment. Look how you get kicks.
No,
All
don't
right.
analyze. Don't analyze the experiment. You know nothing about it.
No, I kind of do.
No, you.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
From the guy who can't control his tone to show that he's lying. You need to cover yourself better.
When have I said any lies? I don't, to the best of my knowledge, know of any lies I've ever said.
No, you cover for the heliocentric model.
With facts and evidence.
No, you don't. You do it with concepts and imagination.
Concepts and imagination also.
And you do it with $1 billion production company of space.
Ooh.
It's not that hard to get people to believe. The stupid people.
Well, stupid people should actually be able to come up with something. Stupid people don't seem to have been able to do that for some reason. Because you know what?
Dude, look at all the Black Lives Matter white people out there chanting for black people that aren't there. Look around.
Do you think that has anything to do with?
That's how stupid people are. Look at people wearing masks. That's what you have to deal with. That's how stupid people are.
Your narcissism is your downbringing. Dude, you seriously are a narcissist.
Oh, fuck you, dude. Shut your mouth. Masks are so dumb. Masks are forms of control. And if you're wearing a mask, you're dumb.
You are a narcissist at the finest. People, look at this example. This is narcissism.
In America, states are reopening. Republican states are reopening. Not the Democrats, because the masks are dumb. You look dumber every time you wear a mask out in public.
Now you're identified.
Stop wearing a mask outside.
Now you start to disembowel me. Go for it, Mr. Narcissist. You've just demonstrated your innermost hate for everyone.
Are you telling me you're telling me every Republican governor is a narcissist and they're saying don't wear masks? They don't have mask mandates because they know it's stupid.
You are. I'm saying you are because you're condescending. The way you build all your superiority, your God-given implemented. I am greater than that.
Superior.
You are a
The Republican,
and now you're
the Ohio Republican governor.
Beautiful.
He's not an idiot. He's the one who wears masks.
Yeah, he's not a real Republican.
Order.
All I'm saying is, if you have $1 billion space production company, you got writers, you got CGI departments, you name it, art departments, and you've got concepts, imaginations, you've got diagrams, graphs, you got people in white coats. You can believe the people that wear masks. Well, they'll believe it. That's who we're dealing with. Those are the people you get to program. Anyone who's wearing a mask outside and not questioning it, that we get to see it physically now. Those are the dummies. Those are the programs. Those are the bots. Those are the ones that don't think.
They love their COVID.
Chemo. I mean, Stiggy, whatever the hell you are. Just stop.
It's true. Look at the Republican states in America.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now
the Democrats are fucking done.
The Democrats
They're done.
Yeah.
They are done. And NASA's next, dude. NASA's not safe. I don't think NASA's safe.
NASA's next. They're going down.
We worship you.
BLM's going after NASA.
Yes, we shall worship our King Stiggy because he deserves
don't worship me. You guys have your own demagogues. You have your own demagogues.
Oh, please let BLM show up here. I would have so much fun.
So cool. BLM at JPL.
Oh, I just want them to show up here. I would have fun. I wouldn't have to worry about going to jail. I could be myself again.
Right? Raise your fist at me and tell me I deserve more. I can't believe they're doing that. They're going up to restaurants. You can't eat. Put your fork down and raise your fist. Wow. Look, go to NASA though. I don't care if they go to NASA.
I hope Stiggy gets cancer.
Dude, come on, man. Every country knows that this thing is so bogus. Look at Sweden.
Country. Countries now. How's your brown shirt going? Polished it up, have you?
Sweden didn't care about this thing. Don't care about the virus.
Brown shirt.
You guys are defending the freaking virus now. Do you guys have to do all this? Like, what contract did you sign where you have to defend?
Actually, we're defending against idiocy.
No, you're not. You have to defend. You have to defend that COVID deaths were real. Like, you have to defend that the CDC didn't lie about COVID deaths, don't you? That's what you've gotten your shit into, huh? Man, you guys are deep.